All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the afternoon tune. I'm your host, Josh, and with me is my special guest co-host today, Conan. How's it going there, Conan?
Good, good, good. Happy to be here. It's you've been on our show, and I'm now on your show. What a time to
Yeah,
be alive.
I'm trying to get all you guys there. I'm collecting you guys like Pokemon, trying to get you all
Exactly.
here on the
Got to
show
catch them
there.
all.
Got to catch them all, as the kids say there. Catch them all to the polls there. So yeah, trying to get you all up here. You were so gracious, had me on your show,
Sure.
and I'm trying to get you all. So I had Christina come on, there now you, and I've had Andrew come on. So yeah, all that's
Just got
left
to
is
get Forrest and KT, and then you can. I don't know what you get when you complete that set. Maybe you get like a movie pass or something. But yeah.
yeah. I get like a expired popcorn, something like that, maybe.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
I'm on a show called Movie Night Extravaganza that is a weekly and or more sometimes show. We talk about movies, and I have a one-on-one interview show called Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. That is the background that's behind me, and I play in a band called Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. And I was surprised, but not in a bad way, to hear you ask me to be on for Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Because if this movie here, I'm going to show my hand. Oh, there you go. There's the channel. Show my hand a little bit. I do like the movie, but the original Dawn of the Dead, the George Romero Dawn of the Dead, it's top 20 movies of all time.
mm,
So
okay.
I was so mad when they made when they like I was like they're remaking Dawn of the Dead. How dare they? That like I'm not sure I really gave it a fair hearing the first time, and I've since re-examined it. And honestly, if they had not called it Dawn of the Dead, I think it would have been like, hey, this is a good movie. This is like one of Zack Snyder's best movies, I think, personally. Like, I think it's like Watchmen and the Dawn of the Dead 2004 is probably the best ones he's done so far.
Yeah. So this is I showed your movie night extravaganza channel. This is your other
It's
channel right
Protonic
here.
Reversal. Protonic Reversal is a long-running, long-form interview podcast. Music and musicians been going for 10 plus years now, so it's very, very well regarded for the that space. And if you're into certain types of music, like you want to talk about Dwayne Dennison and the Jesus Lizard, for instance, that's what I'm talking to here. Then it looks quite a bit like what right now, except for I'm more dressed up. I don't dress up for my show; I dress up for other people's shows.
Oh, very nice.
But yeah, I've been podcasting for about 12 years now.
Okay.
And for Protonic, being like going into 11 of them, but moving to extravaganzas, I don't know, 3 years, I think, something like that. 200 some odd. You think I would know any of this stuff? I don't know any of it. Sorry.
Yeah. And would you say your knowledge of music is more extensive than your knowledge of film, or what would you say there?
Well, it would depend on who I'm talking to and what their level of interest is. I mean, I've played music at toured and made records for 24 years now. And before I played music, I was a fan of music. So I have a fairly encyclopedic knowledge of music of a certain style and variety is the type that I'm interested in. I think my tastes for music are a little more popular space, probably. I think they're less niche. But I had a big gap pre-COVID where I just didn't watch anything at all. And so I was, I caught up during the COVID. That's when I started my Letterboxd account, which I had before I even was a co-host on Movie Night Extravaganza. I just on come in as a featured guest now and again. And I basically caught up on, multiple decades. Oh, yeah, there's this plan. The multiple decades of the movies that I missed, because I missed a lot of them, right? And I didn't miss all of them, but I missed a lot of them. And it kind of reignited my love for film. And then that led me to being guests on other people's shows, being on panels and things along those lines. And then being a featured guest and then co-host and producer on the show. And a true success story. Here I am.
And if people want to find out any of your links there, it's also on your IG. You have a link tree in
Yep.
your bio there. People can hit that. and
You
then
can.
it links to all your stuff.
It's pretty comprehensive. Like you can find any of my music stuff, any stuff from my show, Movie Night Extravaganza episodes, just times when I'm on as guests on other things, whether it's for music or movies or just whatever. There's a drawing the letter hacked into me. Yeah, exactly. There's some posters, some shows we're playing with Dead Bob, which is genre if no means no. That's me talking about The Hunger. It's Vampire Month, a Movie Night Extravaganza. So we're doing all the roughly a history of vampire movies. Like we started with the Murnau Nosferatu, and we're going to end with Abigail, which of course came out this year. It would be nice to end with the Eggers Nosferatu, but that's not coming out till Christmas, so not much we can do about that. He didn't consult us.
Yeah, you can extend it to Christmas. Maybe go all the way there.
Yeah. We got other stuff that we're gonna do. But it's been great. Like we'll do Movie Night Extravaganza. It's it's not formatted for any specific genre. It isn't horror or sci-fi specific necessarily, but we take great pride in covering what we cover. Sometimes it's more highbrow, like Criterion Fare, and sometimes it's more populist stuff. But a lot of times when we do these theme months, what we'll do is we'll kind of look at a genre. Like, oh, these are Movie Night Madness was one of them, right? Oh, this is like starting with Psycho and going on. We did Murder Night Extravaganza, which was just serial killer movies. We did zombies. We've done we have dystopia coming up. We've done apocalypse. We have all, and it's kind of interesting to go through and just for these genres and just kind of like trace their origins, right? Like where they came from, how certain things that we think of as tropes became tropes, and how certain things that we think of as classics really kind of upended the genre at their time, so on and so on. It's a fun way to engage with film on a deeper level while still not disappearing too far up one's own hindquarters.
Yeah. So, what's the decision process there for picking the movies? Other than the themes there.
Yeah. Well, it's usually first timers get to pick the movie that they're on, as long as it's one we want to do.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll suggest one if we know that the person in question is a fan. And other than that, it just there's no one methodology for it. It's usually the panel plus one. I personally think it's anarchy if you have 6 people on screen, unless it's people that all know the thing really well. So there we are with 5. That's Birds of Prey with Mackenzie from. I know that because Christina is dressed up like Harley Quinn, but yeah, Mackenzie Wilkes. She's on 2 shows, Austin Danger Podcast and the Criterion Connection, and she came on for that one, and we asked her because I know that she's a fan of that movie, so we wanted to. Okay. I always would rather have someone on that's a fan of what we're talking about than someone that just wants to trash talk. I think there's enough trash talk and just kind of people giving their opinion in a very negative format on the internet. So it does happen. I mean, whatever. We're human, right? But it's we prefer to celebrate things that we love and things in some cases that maybe are a little less known than to lambast the things that we don't like.
Yeah, and this is a premiere happening right now on your channel.
This is we had some episodes. The podcasts are fine, but the YouTube videos got taken down. So this was Cemetery Man or Del Morte, which I don't know if you ever saw. I call Cemetery Man probably in this episode a. Did somebody say Ariel? Amazing. We have a lively comment section too, as you well know. But I consider this like a VHS classic. Like you go down to your cool video store and what Cemetery Man? What's that? Really just bonkers, cool cult Italian movie that is kind of darkly comic, but very interesting vibe. And that was a really good episode. Our friend Renee Ruin, she lives in Australia. She was on that episode, and she does a podcast called The Night Shift.
Okay.
That also Bonnie Burton, who's frequently on our show, is on as well. I think she called it a pseudo spinoff of the show. I don't know about that, but I do know that those two got together because they both were regulars on our show.
Yeah. And that's how I find a lot of people You bringing on guests on the show, and I'll go ahead. I'll give them a follow there because you bring them on. So I'll try to
Sure.
support there. So yeah, it was nice meeting you guys.
Yeah,
Down there,
likewise.
yeah, finding you, and I pop in the comment section when you guys are on YouTube or Twitch there. So I'm there usually if you're streaming. Try to show support there for that, and
Yeah,
shout out to you guys.
that's laudable. I try to do the same, and I am very bad at it. But we got to have you on again sometime, not in the comment section. But I think, but I like that. And I like that. There's two things I really like about Movie Night Extravaganza. Well, there's more than two, but two in relation to this conversation. One of which is what you're saying is that like the people we have on, even if people aren't familiar, they'd be like, oh, this person seems cool. Let me follow them on social media or Letterboxd or whatever, and see what they're all about, and then they can kind of figure that as well. And the other thing is that like we don't just cover stuff that everybody knows or that's in the zeitgeist. We do that, but it's not all we do. We also take a lot of pride in whether it's new movies or older movies, pulling stuff out that we think people should know. And that's something that those are like usually the less popular episodes. But that's not why you do it. You don't do that because you want to be popular. You want to do it because you want to turn people on to cool stuff. So there's a balance between it, and I think we try to keep it informed, but if not irreverent, definitely convivial. Like definitely something where people are having a good time. You can have a good time with it. It isn't like eating your vegetables necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that you guys do movies that aren't really, what I mean. I haven't heard of before there, so that's nice. Like The Hunger is like something I would want to go check out, and you guys talking about that makes me turn it on there. And I have a whole list on Letterboxd of movies I haven't seen, so I add movies to that list.
Fantastic.
And I'm gonna go back to that later there. But yeah, log a lot of stuff in that letterbox of different movies there.
That's how I started back with movies is again in 2020 during the pandemic because I couldn't tour. I got laid off from my day job too, so like it was like I was just doing nothing but staring at the wall. So I got back into movies, and one of the things that helped me, this sounds silly, but my Letterboxd account just let me keep a list of things that I wanted to see. They're like, oh yeah, I didn't see this, I didn't see this, I didn't see that. It was like super long, so I started watching all the stuff that I didn't see, and then in the process of doing so, I was like, oh yeah, I really enjoy this. Like I tend to enjoy movies more than streaming shows at this point.
Okay.
And it's not hard and fast rule. Not everything is one for one, right? But I think I consume way more movies than I do. I mean, we used to call them TV shows, right? But are they TV shows? I mean, I guess they're.
I just reviewed something recently. I just binged because I heard so much about it. Interview with the Vampire because that showed on
The one on was it Max or Showtime? What was it?
It's on AMC.
AMC, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I saw like the first 5 episodes of it. I liked it, and I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
But I liked the vibes of it. I liked what they were doing with it.
Yeah. I think you basically just saw season 1. I think season 1's only 5 episodes. So you saw season 1. So I think that's only like 5 or so.
Does it hold up? Are you into it? Do you feel like that was time well spent?
Yeah, I liked season 1. I did a review of that's going to be premiere on the channel in a week or so, and then
spoilers.
I haven't seen the second season. The second season hasn't come on to Netflix yet, so that's still on AMC Plus, and I'm not going to get another.
There's like 20 of these streaming services. It's exhausting. Yeah. It makes me crazy sometimes, but. No, that's good. No, I mean, because there's stuff like Shogun, right? I thought Shogun was a great streaming show.
Yeah,
I saw that. And the fact that it was one and done, I was like, that's a restraint that usually only the BBC has. But it's not that I'm against TV. I just think we're very much in the like the tin age of TV now. But there's still good stuff. It's just that there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like I still haven't seen The Bear season 3. Like that dropped. All of it dropped at once, so I still haven't checked that out or watched that. And then Reservoir Dogs, I haven't gone back and finished that. That ended. So yeah, but Shogun was great though. That swept the Emmys. Like that was like one of the
really cool looking show. Were well acted. I was a fan of like all the principals. The one guy was in Peaky Blinders, and I'm a big fan of. Oh God, I can't think of her name right now. She's a great cast, great show. And
the
it was one of those things.
Monarch and Legacy.
Yeah. The Godzilla show. What's her name? She's like New Zealand.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Renee. I think it's like Renee. Anna Sawai. Anna Sawai.
Anna Sawai. She's awesome, and I like the. I think I think it's slow as hell, but I like the Monarch King of the Monsters show too. I thought that was good. I thought she was. I liked that you had father and son. you had Wyatt and Kurt Russell in that too. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was.
He's one of the good Nepo babies. He's one of the good ones. Him, Jack Quaid, Margaret Qualley, they're the good Nepo babies.
Right. They're the ones we like. Exactly.
Yeah. I saw the Nepo baby in another one, Lewis Pullman in Salem's Lot. That's on Max streaming.
Bill Pullman's son, right?
Yep.
Didn't he? I felt like he played a younger version of like a Bill Pullman character in something, but I don't know.
It's possible, because that's what they like to do sometimes in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like with the Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell thing, they like to do that there. Sometimes it's a possibility there, but yeah, he's coming up. He's building a resume. Lewis Pullman, he was Top Gun Maverick, and he was in that, and he was.
That's right. Yeah.
Bad Times at the El Royale. So yeah.
He's gonna be Sentry in the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, he's gonna be Sentry in so he's getting the Marvel money, getting the Marvel checks.
Exactly. Good for him.
So yeah.
Get that bag, baby Pullman.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure to have you on.
Great to be here.
You are on to help me discuss Dawn of the Dead 2004, the Zack Snyder film there, the remake.
Yeah, man.
Also, if Nick, who's my co-host, if he comes on, we're going to be doing Nightmare on Elm Street if he's able to do that.
Classic.
If not, I'll just wait till do that another day. Also, I have Sage from Radio for Maturity. He's going to be on here later in the hour. He's going to do a video game review there until dawn. Do you play video games at all?
I used to. I fell off it big time. So at this point, let's say no. My because my video game knowledge sort of like dead letter offices at a certain year. But I don't dislike the form. It's just it's not something I engage with anymore. But
what was the last video game you played? Mario 64.
I used to do a lot of time with Katamari Damacy is the one I used to do a lot of time with in that one. Let's see. What's the last one? I don't know. I feel like I kept up with Grand Theft Auto for a while and like all the various Rockstar games. Like there was the Bully and Red Dead Redemption and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I just fell out of the habit. I'm still like I'll play an odd video game now again. I was like waiting in the airport. I was playing some Spider-Man game. It was great. I was like, wow, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
They got a lounge you can just play video games and like have a beer. I'm like, great. I'm way better than just staring at the wall.
I saw that. I saw that in the airport. I'd never seen it before. I think the airport was in maybe Dallas, maybe it was.
Yeah, this was. I want to say it was Los Angeles. I can't remember, but I was like, wow, this is like. I wish I would have known this existed before, because especially when you're in a situation where. Like I like to read a lot. Don't get me wrong, but like sometimes there's like a lot of stuff going on that can be hard to like get your concentration. Like sitting around at an airport, so I was like, yeah, I'll play some video games, just hang out. Sure, great. Yeah. Sounds awesome. Got headphones and everything. Let's roll.
Yeah, that's pretty cool there. Yeah, so Spider-Man, and they did release a new Red Dead Redemption a little while back, so that was good. I played that, beat that, and they're gonna remake Bully. So they're actually going to remake that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I thought that one was good. Yeah, I mean, I was, all those kind of open world, like, whatever you call them, games. Like, I always liked all those.
Yeah, open world kind of, type games like that. So yeah, he's going to be on for that. We're also going to do a show. He's going to help me review Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft there. So that's the new Netflix animated show there, where Lara Croft is voiced by Haley Atwell. So she's voiced by Haley Atwell.
Oh, cool. Agent Carter.
Agent Carter herself. I was one of the 50 people that watched that show when it was on.
Well, I was number 49, my friend, because I thought that show was great.
Yeah, so I like that show. Yeah. So yeah, she's in it. She voices the character there.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a review for that. Next upcoming stream is going to be for Friday. I'm gonna review Friday Smile 2. I'm gonna do a review for that. I'm also going to review for The Apprentice, which is the Donald Trump film there. And I'm gonna yeah. And I'm going to do a review for It's What's Inside, which is on Netflix. It's a Netflix film there, horror film there. So review of that.
I did see the other Sebastian Stan movie that came out.
Different Man.
Different Man. I liked it quite a bit. It was very good.
Yeah, I want to check that out. Unfortunately, it came out of theaters before I got a chance to see it.
I'm shocked. My big quote unquote joke for on the show is that everything that I want to see is like in the movie theaters in Milwaukee for like 5 minutes. Like it's just like in and out immediately. By the time I managed to see that one, I was pretty stoked about it. Very good, very good, very different movie. Very Charlie Kaufman kind of vibes. Is probably the best way that I can put it. But I mean that like as a compliment. Like it's got a probably very different from the Trump movie.
Um, yeah, and I only imagine. I mean, in the upcoming years, I mean, this is probably in the next 5 years, one of the many Trump biopics that are going to be coming out.
God, yeah, you're probably right.
With it there. But this looks like a really interesting movie. Sebastian Stan, been taking some interesting projects.
I appreciate that I think he's going the like the Brad Pitt and like honestly Chris Hemsworth route, and just like when he can, just doing cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just like it's like, oh no, I'm doing this because this is good, not because like I think it's going to advance my career. And yeah, Different Man was awesome. Like it was. What I will say, to a certain degree, for people familiar, it is like a cousin to The Substance, but not really, not in the same ways. Like just in the same ways of certain themes. It's probably the best way to put it. I don't want to like less you know about the better. It's one of those, right? And not like Strange Darling, which is like literally know nothing, But like it's a. I hope it doesn't slip past under people's radars, because I thought it was a really interesting movie.
Yeah, so I can't wait to review that. There's some movies that I didn't get to see in theaters. I want to go back and review. Like Dee Dee is on streaming right now. It's on Peacock, so I want to get a chance to review that. This is coming up to the season November, where it's Oscar time, so people releasing their Oscar movies there for this.
Sing Sing is probably gonna be streaming somewhere fairly soon, I hope. We'll see.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty amazing, so I want to check
great.
that out. Sing Sing there. So yeah, I know there was that movie with Samora Weaving, Azrael, that came out. I didn't get a chance to see that, so I think that's going to be on Shudder.
A friend of mine, Marta Jovovich, does stuff at VIFF, Vancouver Film Festival, and she said Anora, the Sean Baker movie, was like really, really good. Which I like Sean Baker stuff a lot, so I'm not surprised at that at all. But
yeah, I loved Red Rocket. I loved Red Rocket.
Red Rocket was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never rooted more against the lead character in my life.
Yeah, I know, he's just the absolute worst, right? Just the entire time. Yeah, you're like this guy. But yeah, I hear Anora's amazing. I mean, I looked interesting. I think Florida Project, Tangerine. He's got a good his movies aren't all like each other, but they all are usually very cool and worth watching. So
yeah. And speaking of Scream, I mean, this is the actress from Scream.
Oh, word. Okay. The
one that got set on fire.
Yeah.
She got set on fire in that. She got set on fire in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed to know she doesn't get set on fire here.
Well, we haven't seen it yet, so we don't know yet. Maybe she does. Maybe it'd be like, what was it, Sean Bean, that just has all the deaths, all the deaths, the many deaths of Sean Bean. I think that was somebody made like a supercut compilation. He was killed off like the 25th time and like they gave him like a cake or something. I can't remember what it
was. So yeah. That's like that should be her thing in movies, to get set on fire.
There's always gets set. She's the chick who gets set on fire. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Absolutely.
I think her name is Madison, Mickey Madison. I think I want to say her name is Mikey Madison is her name. So
I was not at all interested in Gladiator 2 until I heard Paul Mescal was in it, because I like Paul Mescal a lot. I think he was really good in All of Us Strangers, and really, really, really good in After Sun as well. I think that guy's a young actor to watch, if you will. So that makes me more interested in seeing that. And there's the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan movie. All right, fine.
Complete Unknown.
Complete Unknown, right?
With James Mangold. That's
yeah. I like Mangold. I don't know. I'm pretty against biopics at this point, but whatever. Sure, I'll check it out. I'm sure.
I like that other Bob Dylan movie they did. What was it called? I'm Still Here, or I'm Not There,
with Kate Blanchett and all them. Yeah, was that Scorsese? No.
Yeah, I'm not there. Was it the maybe I'm it's Todd
I'm
Haynes.
thinking of
Todd Haynes did it. Uh, a-
yeah, that sounds right.
and he
Yeah,
did
it's
Blue
Todd Haynes.
December and
Oh,
Carol.
oh yeah, yeah. Safe, Far From Heaven. I'm a huge Todd Haynes fan.
Yeah.
He's Carol. I've definitely crowbarred a lot of Todd Haynes movies into the movie Night Extravaganza canon.
Yeah.
I love that
Uh,
guy.
yeah.
He
And
did a good Velvet Underground documentary for Apple, I think, or something like
oh,
2 years
okay.
ago too.
I gotta check that out then. And that was interesting. The I'm not there because that was like different actors playing Bob Dylan at different stages
Yeah,
of his life and everything like that. That was
thought
kind of interesting.
that was a
Yeah.
cool way to kind of approach that, especially for someone that's known for having a multifaceted personality and different eras and epochs of music. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I know that I think James Mangold said he hates Walk Hard Dewey Cox story. Like he doesn't like that movie too much. I think he said.
He's an
Um,
idiot because that
uh,
movie rules.
because it kind of exposes movies like Walk the Line and
Yeah,
Ray and
that's well, he made Walk the Line, which is great, but like he obviously doesn't have a sense of humor over the fact that like yeah, Ray walked the line. I mean, I felt like there was like there was a lot of venerated musical biopics around that time. And I liked almost all of them, even though I don't like many of the more recent ones. But I also loved Walk Hard. I thought Walk Hard was hilarious, and like to like be humorless about that. I don't know. Come on, man.
yeah.
Like,
Uh,
I mean, what did he do lately? Dial of Destiny, the most mid Indiana Jones movie ever.
yeah, he did Down with Destiny. Yeah.
It's
Which I don't.
fine.
I
It's
don't fully
fine.
blame him. I mean, there's only I think so much he could have done with that under the umbrella of Disney. I think so. I
It
don't.
wasn't the worst one.
You think Temple of Doom is worse?
No, Kingdom of the
Crystal Skull.
Skull. Ugh,
Uh,
awful. Hated that one. Temple of Doom has not aged very well. It's not the best one. I think Raiders is almost perfect. I think Last Crusade's amazing, and I think Temple of Doom is. There's a lot to like about Temple of Doom, but some
mm,
of it has not aged well.
yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at it. But they should have. If they stopped after Last Crusade, it would have been like
Yeah.
that would have been the move.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, Harrison Ford's the best looking 80-year-old man you ever see. I mean,
I
still got,
know. Yeah, respect. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
he got in the gym, got in shape for that. So, hey, shout out to him, man. He's still doing it.
Didn't crash a plane into anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't have an incident like when he was on Star Wars where a door slammed on his ankle or
I
anything
know.
like
Right. Yeah.
that. Yeah. Good on him. Yeah, let's get into this review. Let me pull up my notes
Cool,
for it.
man. Let's go.
And yeah, and out of here. Oh, good stuff there. And of course, afterwards, after the stream, I'll go ahead and raid somebody. I see Mini Portables on. She's watching that wrestling. She's a wrestling content creator there. She's watching
Mm.
Raw. It's Monday Night Raw.
Mm.
Are you a wrestling guy, wrestling fan?
I am not. I
Oh,
appreciate what people get out of it, but I'm not. I'm not that guy.
yeah. I'm getting. I think I'm getting a little bit back into wrestling. I think.
All
Yeah, I
right.
was drought. Yeah, a little bit. So I'm getting a little bit back into it now. Rena Goddess is on. She's playing horror game Silent Still there. CK Nico, he's playing Silent Hill 2. That's the big game out right now.
Mm.
October horror time. So yeah, that's a remake of the Silent Hill that came out in '01. So that's a remake of that game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They made a couple of those movies, right?
yes. I've never seen them. I heard they were
Sean
pretty
Bean.
awful.
I think Sean Bean gets killed in one of them actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. The one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he was in
But
it. Oh,
it's been a long time. I don't remember. If I saw it all the way through, I don't really remember. I
yeah,
did, although I think I did watch for a while. I watched every Resident Evil movie, and then I don't think I saw that last one. But those movies, not great, not
yeah.
great. But I watched them all.
Yeah, whatever happened to that? They used to have that, women dressed in all black shooting two machine guns at the same
Yeah,
time.
Underworld and Matrix and like all that. Yeah,
Yeah, world went woke. That's the problem, man. We
exactly.
used to have proper society when women do that, man.
Exactly. We used to have hot women doing gunplay, and now we don't because of woke. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
To be
right.
clear, I don't mean that. Nobody take that out of context. This is humor.
Clip it, clip it, put it
Yeah.
on there.
Word and Force does that sometimes. Like, dude, come on.
All right. So let's get into this. So, our first
Yeah.
review of the day is going to be for Dawn of the Dead, and no, not the George A. Romero one from 1978. This is the remake from 2004. This one is directed by Zack Snyder, and it's written by George A. Romero and James Gunn. There, Zack Snyder, you know the guy there. He's went on to do many films: Watchmen, 300, Justice League. There, Rebel Moon, most recently. There. And also James Gunn, who this was kind of one of his very first big writing projects there. James Gunn, who's also a very prolific director now. You see him, he was involved with Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy films there. It's kind of funny that these two people were kind of involved there now that their two fan bases are kind of always trying to pit them
Mhm.
against each other there,
Yeah.
because of silly comic book reasons and everything like that. But yeah, and so yeah, you have Zack Snyder who did direct this movie here. And I actually saw this Dawn of the Dead before I saw the very first Dawn of the Dead of George A. Romero. So this
Mm.
was my first exposure to Dawn of the Dead there. Did you see the 1978 version before you saw
Oh
the
hell yeah! No, I
Okay.
was I had been a fan of the '78 Dawn of the Dead for many years, to the point that when I saw a preview for this, like, oh, this looks good, and it was like Dawn of the Dead, I was like, whoa! Like I was mad. I was mad because I was like, you don't remake Dawn of the Dead. How dare you? Like remake Day of the Dead. That movie's not that great, but
Yeah.
but I did actually see it in the theater. This one, not I'm not that old. I didn't see the Romero Dawn of the Dead in the theater. That'd be great, but. And again, I was mad at its existence, but more that they were using the name Dawn of the Dead because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. But after the cooling down period, it's pretty good. I think that the opening sequence, especially, is really compelling. Like you have, like everything's happening very fast. There's lots of like long shots where things are coming from the left, moving from the right, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's something Snyder does a pretty good job with, and that action really conveyed like the chaos of what would actually happen during a zombie apocalypse. I mentioned this when we did Zombie Night Extravaganza on the show. There, 28 days later, it's infected people, so it makes sense that they're fast, right? Here, the zombies are just fast because they're zombies. Okay, I'm not saying I need an explainer saying like why they can do that, but why can they do that? Because it suits the plot, I guess. Like, whatever. Like, shut up, have a good time. But it was definitely like he saw 28 days later, it was like, I'll have the zombies do that. And it does make it different, right? Because again, in the Romero movies, they move very slowly. They move
Yeah.
very slowly, and that's a thing. So to have someone like running at you right at the camera, yeah, this is the sequence I'm talking about where this works really well for me. I think you get Sarah Polley,
I like that
Oscar-winning screenwriter Sarah Polley, by the way, because she a lot of people don't realize that she retired from acting, but she wrote and directed Women Talking, which won a screenplay for adapted
Oh,
at the Oscars.
very nice. Okay.
And she's a very talented director and writer as well. But she's the lead in this. I mean, I think she's great. I think Ving Rhames is great. I think it's actually a strong cast. I think it's a little dour as a film. Like it's pretty hopeless a lot of times, and that's kind of can get daunting a little bit. And it's not I think it was Sunshine and Lollipops in the Romero movie. Don't get me wrong, but like I just felt like it was a little bit on the bleak side, but in a way that came off as mean,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Okay. And so you mentioned the cast here. You got Sarah Polley, you got Vin Rhames. People probably know Vin Rhames. He's been in the Mission Impossible movies recently. There, he's the hacker character in that. You also have
He's a classic that guy. He's in everything, man. If you need like a big tough guy doing big tough guy stuff, you got Ving Rhames.
yeah,
You
Pulp
know?
Fiction,
Pulp Fiction, yeah, man.
all that good stuff there. Jake Weber is also in this. Jake Weber, he's most famous for being in the show Medium. There with Patricia Arquette, I think that's the Arquette right there. That was
Yeah.
in there.
Jake Weber has one of the coolest quotes in this too. I don't want to break up your flow, but like when they're talking about his character Michael, when they're talking about, oh, what did you do before this, and like I forget exactly what he says, but he's like, oh, I didn't do anything, like I just was like a guy. Like I would like that was I think one of the coolest. And then he like kind of he's like, uh, they talk about like what what they were doing like the before times, right? And he's like, I worked at a stationery store. I
Mm,
fixed copiers. Like I did all these things, and I was just kind of he just sort of muddled through life, and it turns out that this fellow is like what he's really good at is like leading people in
mm,
like the worst possible situation they could be in. I found that very profound and interesting and different than the original, and I thought that was one of the cooler points.
mm.
That's Jake Weber's character Michael.
And then you also have Mekhi Phifer there.
Yep.
Before being a name in a Eminem song, he was also in a very variety of different also other projects there. People know him
Yeah.
from there. Things like 8 Mile as well there. So he's a legendary Black All Star is as people he like to be dubbed there. So you have him. You also have as well Ty Burrell, who people might know. He was the dad in Modern Family there. He was there, so he's was in that as Steve in this there. So yeah, you get a good
Yeah,
kind of
he's kind of a jerk in there, and Michael Kelly too. He has
Michael
a
Kelly.
mustache, so you don't recognize him, but he's another classic that guy. House of Cards has been redacted to a black site for Kevin Spacey stuff, but like he's a classic that guy actor. Like he's in The Penguin now. He's
Oh
Johnny 80 in
yes,
The Penguin. He's in like all kinds of stuff. Like, and he's usually like he's a good that guy actor. He's been in like some Black Mirror episodes and stuff like that. But the whole time when I was rewatching it for this, I was like, so where do I know that guy from? It was the mustache. I totally did not recognize him with the mustache. I was like, oh, it's that guy.
yeah. With
So
the mustache, with kind of that look, he kind of looks like that guy who's from The Walking Dead, who was like the sidekick to Negan a little bit.
yeah. I forget that actor's name and the character name, but totally has that same vibe, which is crazy to think about because think about when The Walking Dead came out, right?
Mm,
And I'm talking about not the comic book. I'm talking about the TV show. It came out 2010. So this is like 6 years before that. And let me tell you, 28 Days Later kind of reignited the interest in zombies for a long time. But Walking Dead kind of changed the face of it and mainstreamed it again for like a new audience because you had like Shaun of the Dead,
yeah, same
later
year.
right, and you later on had Zombieland and so on and so on. But this is pre Walking Dead, so that's another thing to think about when you're thinking about this movie in context. Is like the Walking Dead is 6 years away at this point.
Yeah,
The
that's
TV show, not the comic book. Again, to be clear.
yeah. Which is still going, and all the spinoffs and various, which I guess people are still watching. I mean, if they're still doing spinoffs and still going, so I guess people still checking it out. I tuned out a while ago with
Yeah, good
Walking
for them. I don't know. It's not for me. Yeah, but it's I'm not hating. I'm just saying that at a certain point I was like, nah, I think I'm out.
Dead. And you mentioned 28 Days Later there, which 28 Days Later they're gonna do 28 years later. They
That's
announced
right.
they're finally gonna do a sequel to that, and that was with Killian Murphy was in that,
Danny
and
Boyle directed. Yeah, that's and Alex Garland writing
yeah,
on that one.
that was a good start for them, and that came out in '02. Was 28 Days Later there.
Yeah, we went through all these when we covered the zombie movies. It was pretty interesting because that's one that Danny Boyle did that movie almost as a reaction to what had happened before, and he did like really like cheap with like really of their time state of the art digital cameras, but they all it has a unique look. Let's put it that way. That some people don't quite understand. One of the reasons why is because he was like using what at the time was technology that was not used for major motion pictures to just make something quick and dirty and kind of like crazy looking, like it was found footage, like it was like a snuff film or something along those lines. And he did a great job with it. It was an amazing movie. And
Yeah.
technically speaking, they're not zombies, but it did revive the genre big time. Like it was a big, and they made 28 Weeks Later, not that good in my opinion. You can skip that one, but I'm down with those three guys being involved. That it's gonna be Danny Boyle, Alex Garland writing, and Oscar winner Cillian Murphy
Yeah.
acting. Great.
Yeah. So the crew's gonna come back together again for that. So yeah, with this 2004 Dawn of the Dead film there, you got this cast here. Simple film, like you said, things just kind of go to shit one day. All of a sudden, people start showing up, got a taste for flesh. And these kind of strangers kind of band together. You got various different people. You have Sarah Polly in there, who's the lead of the film, who's a nurse. You got Vin Rames, who's a policeman. You got this married couple there, Mekhi Phifer and his wife there. a salesman is Ty Burrell. So all these kind of different people from all these different walks of life, and they're also in your neck of the woods. They're in Milwaukee there.
Right.
It's not.
I think
It's
they
not.
film it in Ontario, but yeah, it is. It was funny watching this time and being like, oh, Racine and Milwaukee, like Shorewood, they're like naming out places that are like near to my house. It's like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So they have, yeah. So even though, yeah, you're right, they filmed it in Ontario. They do that thing there, but yeah, so it's in Milwaukee. Supposedly is the setting of it, and they all run to the mall there. Safeguard place there to hold up, to try to figure out what's all going on. And then when they go to the mall, that's when they meet the security guards of the mall. And then kind of the movie mostly takes place in this mall, and then kind of the people deciding what's going to happen, what's going to be the next step with that. And also another thing I like about this movie is that it shows, through like on the screen, on televisions there, kind of like little kind of what's kind of going on outside through the news.
Yeah.
And what I don't like about some apocalypse movies is that they try to portray like everything would be completely down, cell phone signals, all that in just one day. Instead of like that would take a progression of
Right. Instead of it falling apart, like kind of in series almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here it kind of portrays that of like it's not just everything. Yeah, it's a more of a series of things, and you see the military response to it.
Yeah.
There. So yeah. It's kind of more. It's kind of a little bit of a bottle film in some aspects there with that there. And it's been a while since I've seen the George A. Romero 1978 film. How much would you compare this to the George A. Romero 1978 film?
I mean, as little as possible, because like I said, one I really love and one I think is okay. But I mean, from the perspective of what the characters are up to, ultimately that's very similar. Even if like the engagement of how because it's all about the interplay between them, right? You have this disparate group of people from different backgrounds and interests, and they are forced to survive in this situation together. And so how does that transpire, right? How does that go down, and how do they deal with the situations that come through? I think it's more poignant and elegant in the Romero movie, and I think it is so in a way that is also very of its time, because it's also critiquing consumerism. Like the zombies are going to the mall because that's what that they have some memory of, that they wanted to be there because that was important to them. So that's like, a very subtle critique of consumerism. You just don't have any of that in this. Although they do drop the line, it's not backed up with anything, so it doesn't really matter. I think the action's great. I think as far as a zombie action movie, it's awesome. Like I said, especially openings, amazing. And the credit scene, the post-credit scene, which is basically, like, okay, here's like a whole other movie, like in the credit scene where you see what happens when they get to the island. Spoiler alert, doesn't end well. I think that stuff's awesome. I think a lot of it kind of drags a little, but it doesn't drag like how Zack Snyder films drag now. And I think that's an important distinction, because I think I'm not sure what the runtime on this is, but I don't think it's even. I don't think it's even.
It's only an hour and 40.
Yeah, and that's good. That should be like, look, if you're making a genre movie, that should be what you're shooting for. Like, I don't know why every movie has to be over 2 hours now. It's usually not warranted. But I think it does move along. Yeah. I think it does move along. I think it's well. So this is the when they're when they're going to the island to get safe haven from the zombies, and this like shows them like making the journey to the island. Spoiler alert, everybody. And then it turns out it's not great. It's not great when they get there. But I love that. I thought that was a great kind of bleak capstone to kind of a bleak movie. I mean, I think, and again, there's some of the similar stakes, like, one of the primary characters, not making it all the way, but you kind of, I feel like in the original, you get to know the characters more. And I think that helps. And I think that there's an affinity for some of the characters in this one, but that's not Zack Snyder's strong suit, is showing that. Yeah. Now, again, it's James Gunn's script, and I think he is good at that, but I don't think it quite gets across, but I think it still works. and I think it's probably one of, I put it up there with Watchmen as one of his more successful and enjoyable films for my taste.
Yeah. I think that, this is, like I said, Zack Snyder's very first movie. I think it's probably his best movie when you look at his filmography there. I think for me, it's the strongest one. Like you said, it's not over bloated there.
Yeah.
Maybe like some of his other movies. I think it,
But like most of his other movies. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, other than this one, what's a kind of a short, probably 300 is, I think, also pretty
Is
short.
300 short? You could tell me it's 3 hours. You could tell me it's 90 minutes, and I would be
Yeah.
like, sure.
Relatively compared to all the director's cuts that are
Yeah,
3+
I know.
hours and everything. So, yeah, I still think this is the strongest one. I think Zack Snyder needs a very strong script to
Yeah.
really help him. That really helps him a lot there. And I think James Gunn has a pretty good script here. Like I said, James Gunn, who did a lot of writing before he really became director there. And he was a writer like on things like Romeo and Juliet. And,
Oh yeah, he was a big trauma guy. Yeah, that's what people don't even remember. But again, pre Guardians of the Galaxy, a bunch of people that didn't like his politics like dug up a bunch of old tweets and stuff when he was edgelording it up, and they got him fired from Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they eventually got reinstated. And that's a prime example of like cancel culture right there, as much as I hate using that term. But it ended up, I find it interesting. I didn't think about the fact that Gunn wrote it and Snyder directed it, and in the DC universe, like there's two warring factions, and it's Gunn versus Snyder. Thought never even occurred to me until you mentioned that, because this is so long ago that it's it's like, oh yeah, no, those dudes work together.
Yeah. I mean, they personally, I think they like each other fine. I don't think they've ever, both root for each other and success for each other and everything. So, yeah. He was a big, writer for a minute there, James Gunn, and doing a lot of that. That's how he kind of got his start. And then before he went into directing movies. And like you mentioned, so I don't think they hammer home as much the consumerism element there, because it's been a minute since I've seen the George A. Romero 1978 Dawn of the Dead. But I think that's such a big thing about that one is, like you said, everybody goes to the mall. The zombies kind of all migrate there for that, because that's they just have that vivid memory of doing so there, just like muscle memory of just walking to the mall and going there, shopping there. I guess now would be everybody just sits at home trying to turn on Netflix, maybe, I guess.
Right. Exactly. I was looking at their phones now, right? Something like that.
But
it's also like it doesn't need to do the same thing, right? Because there is a movie that already does that. But I found that kind of lacking. By the way, 300 is 116 minutes.
Okay.
And Sucker Punch 110 minutes, and Dawn of the Dead 101 minutes. So it is not his shortest movie, because there's like a Michael Jordan short that he did, that's like 47 minutes. And there's some other thing that I've never heard of called Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. What is this?
Oh, yeah. I think that's like his second best one. That's the animated one. If you've never seen it.
Animated. Is it good? Okay.
I think that's like his second best one.
I've honestly never heard of it. So that's slightly shorter than his Dawn of the Dead. Everything else is longer by a lot. A lot. And I think that, I mean, there's things like I wasn't mad at, was it Army of the Dead? Right, the
with Dave
Bautista and Ella Purnell and all them. That was fine. It was that was too long. It's too muddled. But I mean, it's not like I wasn't mad at it. But I feel like that's his go-to now, is like long and muddled.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't know. Like, I think most movies are too long these days. The Matt Reeves Batman. Everyone loved that movie. Too long. Could have cut 40 minutes of that movie. It's enough. Wrap it up.
Enough of too much of Batman, I guess, for that one there.
I mean, there's things I liked about it, but like like some movies you're like, well, I don't know what I would cut, but I'd always be like, let me add it. I know everything I'd cut on that movie.
And I don't think he didn't do the he didn't direct the spinoff, right? He didn't. No, I think that was someone else, right?
The Penguin.
No, Army of the Dead. You remember they did?
Army of the Dead. Yeah, I did. I thought he did direct that, didn't he?
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
The one with the what was he, German or Swiss or
the safecracker fella?
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot what he was. Was he German or something? I forgot.
Something like that. I can't remember. I remember Theo Rossi was in it. I remember Ella Purnell was in it. Like, it was fine. It just was way too long. And it was like, you can do this. You did it with Dawn of the Dead. Like, why is this? Why on earth would this be 148 minutes?
Yeah.
For whom is that for?
Yeah. I mean, a lot kind of going on there. And this one, like I said, it's more condensed with Dawn of the Dead. It's much more
Hmm.
streamlined, much more, you kind of get the characters there, get what they're kind of about in here in the story. And yeah, you kind of has good momentum to see what's going on
Right.
with it. How do you like the effects, even though this was 20 years ago, of the zombies? How do you like
I
the
think
effects?
they're good. I think the effects are kind of one of the times that this movie really shines. I think it was a best kind of mix of the Tom Savini practical effects along with like what digital technology was able to offer as well. Like I think it looks a lot better than movies that came out last year. You know.
Who shout out to Tom Savini? He makes a cameo in this. Shout out to him
He's
there.
yeah, he's like the sheriff character. That's nice. That was nice to see. I thought that was cool. But I think that oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was yeah. You go ahead.
I think it's glitzier. It's glossier. I think it's honestly not that it's not like the original Dawn of the Dead isn't gory, but this is definitely gorier than the original one.
Yeah,
But I think
lot
there's a
more.
lot of missed opportunities. Is I guess my problem with this one. I feel like that there was like times it could have gone a little deeper, and it
Yeah,
just didn't.
yeah, a lot more action based. I would say. Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot more. Yeah, faster pace in that sense there with it. And you got some good, memorable zombies in this. Like you got the kind of the bloater type zombie with the
yeah,
woman
yeah.
there. You have the I think infamous zombie baby there with that one, which
Right. Which
that did
which
look
is
a little goofy looking, but it was kind of creepy, I guess.
also
Yeah.
Peter Jackson did that with Dead Alive at like 91, man. But okay, yeah, or Brain Dead, Brain Dead, Dead Alive, whatever you want to call it. Same movie.
Yeah. Actually, let me show that clip there because it's creepy the way they kind of set it up there with it.
Well, and I can't be the only one that once I saw there's a pregnant woman, I'm like, oh, is baby
Yeah,
gonna be a zombie? First thing I thought of, like immediately.
yeah. It's
but
like
but
Alien Romulus when she was like, "Well, I'm pregnant." Well, you already know what's
I
gonna
was like,
happen
oh,
there.
you know what, yeah, that's gonna play out exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe
Look,
I'm being a cynical genre fan though by saying that. You know, I
yeah,
don't know. I wasn't that surprised by it. It was fine. It was fine. The zombie baby, sure, zombie baby. Why not?
yeah. Let me. Yeah, this is the clip of it right here where you actually get to see the baby here. So yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Hey everybody, I'm the zombie baby.
Yeah. Zombie rules. So in this one, they portray, like I said, it's a little bit different. So that you got little fast zombies in this. They can run. They
Right.
got their cardio in there.
Some of them got hauling ass, man. They're moving. It was like for real.
You got that. Do you prefer fast zombies or you like slow zombies? Are you a purist there?
I mean, I think it's whatever's telling the better story. The aforementioned 28 Days Later, technically they're not zombies, they're infected people. That's like one of my favorites. I wouldn't have minded the zombies being like middle distance runners in this one if maybe there was any explanation as to like why it happened. Like even it's like something throwaway like a news item or something. It just was like I'm sure it was like, hey, we like the zombies to be fast now because 28 Days Later.
Yeah, that's what the
Okay.
kids are into now. They want the
Yeah.
fast zombies. They want the slow zombies. But I mean,
Look, Train to Busan. It works there, like and I don't know why like it doesn't annoy me in Train to Busan, but it kind of annoys me a little bit on the Snyder movie, but it does.
and they're doing a remake of that Train to Busan.
Train to Busan, an
Yeah,
American remake
yeah,
or
they're doing an American remake of it.
huh?
So
See the problem. So here's the problem with that. We don't rely on public transit like they do there.
depends
So
what city. Like
I guess
maybe,
you think you could do it in New York and then it's fine. Okay, but
yeah, which they are doing. It's last train to
train
New.
train to Hoboken.
Yeah,
Oh, it's last train. Okay, well, that's
last train to Soho.
exactly. I have a brother. I know that one.
Yeah, they got delayed though. So this got delayed, but yeah,
I like that one though. I mean, I think we closed when we did Zombie Month. I think we actually closed with the Train to Busan because I wanted to include it because I thought it was
yeah,
a worthwhile inclusion. I think that's one that. Well, again, it isn't just the zombies running around, right? Like that's also like you have to have stakes for the people, which doesn't mean you have to care about the people, but there has to be some like degree of stakes for it. And I think that set up. There was the guy that was the actor that's in all the
The one from
Director
Eternal.
Bong movie. Oh yeah. That's right. He's in this. He's in those too. Like this the dichotomy between the two like predominant male leads is like super interesting, and you kind of like as the time goes on, like, oh, the working class guy is
You talking
actually
about this
awesome,
guy?
and
You
this
talking about the other
is,
guy?
Ma Dong Suk. He has done like a bunch of other rad stuff. That guy is actually like I've watched a lot of movies that he's in now. And then the other guy's cool too, but I'd seen like less stuff that he was in. But I guess kind of get that with this, you know. Like I mean, you like a little bit, but I feel like it's just people saying the lines before doing the thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel it as much, even though there's some characters that definitely are more impediments than others. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. How do you like the chemistry between the cast here? How do you like
I
that?
think good. I think Sarah Polley and Ving Rhames are both great. I think everything they do are great. I mentioned before the fellow who plays Michael. I think that guy is like really awesome. I didn't really know him from anything aside from this. I think everyone else is cool. I like Matt Frewer a lot. It's always nice to see him and stuff. He's a great that guy actor. I like the whole thing. This is another thing I thought that this movie innovated, having the gun store and they're like communicating with like the guy from the gun store with like binoculars and like the signs and stuff. I thought that was cool because that's something like that would be real, right? You would have someone that you can't get to, but you're trying to communicate with them and like using low tech possible. That all worked for me. I thought that was interesting, and I liked it when it was doing stuff that was interesting.
Mm. Yeah, because you see like a montage takes place in the middle of the movie where they
Mm-hmm.
tell they've been there, I guess, for a number of maybe months or a series
while.
of weeks there, and they start talking to a person across the street there's at the gun shop who's on there's held up there, and they come up with a plan, because they're like, hey, we can't stay here forever. The other guy across the street, he's getting hungry, he needs food. How are we gonna get food to him? We got
Right.
to get some school buses, soup up the school buses, so we can drive through the zombies there. Because now you see like there's a whole bunch of zombies that are just in the middle between between them
Yep.
and the gun shop guy there. So what are we gonna do there? And then a plan formulates, and of course, anytime a plan formulates, there's always somebody's gonna fuck up that plan, and
Right.
then things,
Exactly. Oh, there's no movie, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
you always need that.
Hey, everything went smoothly and nothing went bad. Great.
And the
This
person
movie is 5 minutes long.
and the person who ends up fucking up the plan is Nicole, who's played by Lindy Booth there, who people might know Lindy Booth. I mean, she probably wants to forget this on her resume, but I think I remember her from one of those like spoof movies. I want
Oh,
to say.
sure. She was in a bunch of like Hallmark films and stuff too. Like she was kind of just like yeah. She's that chick. She's in this.
Yeah. And this is, let me see, let me show a picture of
I'm not
her.
sure if she's. I'm not sure. Let's see. Well, she
Yeah.
was in the second Kick-Ass movie, I think, too, maybe. And she was like, I want to say she was the. She was. In a
Yeah, she
couple
was
of
in
things.
she was Night Bitch in Kick Ass 2 there. She was in that.
There's-
Yeah, so very
Movie that
creative names.
did
there.
not need a sequel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was in. She was in a bunch of like kind of like mid-grade horror movies and stuff like that. But like the thing I remember most is like being she was in that the second Kick-Ass movie, which of course is Aaron Taylor Johnson and
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah,
Yeah, even then too.
it's okay. It's like, I mean, Nicolas Cage is hard to be mad at Nicolas Cage of the first one.
So her situation, she because there's another group of survivors they meet that crash at the mall, and she's part of that group. And then you need some other extra people that need to die before to add some excitement to the movie. So she has her father who
Right.
got bit, and then he gets infected there. They don't know about the rule yet of like once you get bit, you can just chop it off. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't know about that rule with that though.
Well, and how would they? Right? They wouldn't. But I like that Michael Kelly, who's a total jerk with his like jerk mustache, he's not wrong. Like bringing those people in does cause problems, but it's also the right thing to do. And I like that you have when you have Jake Weber when his character, like he's just talking to the truck driver when they first come in is like like he's like, oh yeah, what did you I heard all these people were stranded, so I just drove my truck over, and he's like, oh, good for you. Just like that shows like, like sets up the humanity of and the morality of it. But in this case, yeah, weak link. She actually screws everything up.
Yeah, because I guess because her dad passing away, and then she forms a bond with this dog, and then they send the dog over to have a way to give him food.
Yeah.
And zombies, it depends. Some zombies are interested in animals, some zombies are not. Depends on the lore of the zombie stuff. Here, the zombies aren't interested in animals, which I guess if they were interested in animals, people would probably die off a lot faster because if they started biting deers and various dogs, people would get probably affected a lot faster. So they send the dog over, and there's like a little doggy door. The zombies end up grabbing the doggy door there. They all flood inside and kill the guy across there, infect him. She goes over there, steals the bus. They try to go get the bus back, and they're like, okay, now's our time. We got to get out of here. And just the whole plan just is fucked from there. But exciting sequence, though, I would say. That whole sequence was very, very exciting there.
Yeah, again, good action in this. No complaints there. Like, and sort of like the beats might seem small when you just talk them out like that, but it all works. It works well enough. I mean, I think there's no point where you're just like, why did they do that? Chip's the dog, right? That's the dog's name.
Yeah,
great,
Chip.
Great character. Yeah, great dog acting in this.
And here's the thing, they're driving out of it there. They got souped up this thing, barbed wire, everything like that, and just you see
it's all Mad Maxed out.
All these zombies just kind of surrounding them there, and they're trying to fight them off. And this was a lot more other people. They die here as well. But this was
I feel like there's some people around that are just there to be cannon fodder, right? Like it's like we don't really get to know anything about them.
Like this woman right here, like the one that was sleeping with Steve. Like you don't really get anything with her besides that there.
There's no characterization. It's just that guy. The guy with the tie. He's a dick. That guy. All right.
Well, you know that because he's wearing a tie.
He's wearing a tie. Exactly.
Like, why are you still wearing a tie? It's the zombie apocalypse, dude.
Actually, his name is Ty Burrell, so he's wearing a tie, and his name is Ty. So
symbolism right there.
There you go.
That's what you got there. And so that's kind of exciting. So I think that has it, over the original, just the pace of it, how much it kind of keeps.
It's very fast. Yeah, it moves along. It doesn't drag at all. And again, I think that works well with the runtime being most horror movies justify being over 90 minutes. If you ask me, why are you over 90 minutes? Is there some reason why you think that your movie should be over 90 minutes? Oh, because I've got more story to tell. Okay, well, Predator is 107 minutes. Is your movie better than Predator? If yes, fine, go ahead. But if not, I don't know. Predator's a pretty good movie. It's a Predator quotient.
Some fun little trivia about the movie. Vin Rames. He heard that they were doing a remake of Dawn of the Dead, and he begged to be in the movie. He asked, tracked down, begged to be in the film there.
Nice.
So he did that. George A. Romero was initially against the remake, but after seeing the film, he was kind of impressed by it. He thought it was pretty good there. The musical choices in the movie, that was very, very much a Zack Snyder thing, because the movie opens up with Johnny Cash's, speaking about Johnny Cash there, and something like A Complete Unknown, James Mangold there, and he also did a Johnny Cash movie. The Man Comes Around is the opening song of the movie, so Zack Snyder very, very much picked that.
Which is one of the American recordings, Rick Rubin, Johnny Cash albums, which are all very good, but that one is definitely very bleak and apocalyptic. It has a lot to do with the Book of Revelations. But it's well deployed here. Well deployed.
Yeah, that was pretty good there. Good needle drop. Yeah, good needle drop there for the movie. Usually James Gunn is pretty good with the needle drops.
He's known for it, right? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he got inspired from Zack Snyder.
Right, exactly.
He's like, I'm gonna start putting my playlist in movies.
Exactly.
There.
Made a lot of very worthy people some new fans and money by doing so.
Not as much as probably Stranger Things did for Kate Bush, probably, but
that's a rare case of Kate Bush always should have been more popular, and just it happened to be a really key moment of a thing that everybody was watching, but also just the thing happened to be really good, and there's a whole bunch of people waiting to be connected with that artist. So that's definitely the best possible example for that, right?
Yeah. So, what will be
Dick
your
Dale in Pulp Fiction, maybe. I don't know.
what will be your final thoughts and rating for Dawn of the Dead 2004?
Yeah. So I think so. I said in retrospect, I was sitting at a, I was sitting like a 2.5 for a really long time, just because I was just mad that they would dare remake one of my favorite movies. Right. I think it's more like a 3.5, 3.5 out of 5. Like it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It moves along very nicely. There's some good performances. Doesn't overstay its welcome. I think it's my favorite Zack Snyder movie. It's like probably between that and Watchmen, and then like 300 behind it. 'Cause 300 is cool, but it's idiotic too. Let's let's not
Yeah.
get it twisted. It's pretty dumb. Like
Yeah. It is, I guess. It was iconic, I guess, for me. Everybody was doing parodies of 300. Everybody was this is
Yeah.
Sparta, and everybody was doing that. Like, everybody
well,
was
I mean, look at Frank Miller. Frank Miller is like, it's easily to parody because he's so just ridiculously like over the top, like masculine and stuff. Which like, all right. I mean, like Sin City, right? It's the same thing.
yeah,
I love Sin City, but it's also like, all right, I get it.
yeah,
Come on. Noir, I get it. Cool. But I think that I probably kind of undersold this one for a long time. And I think Ving Rhames and Sarah Polley are both fantastic in it. And I think the cast overall is very strong. There's no weak links in the cast. And I think if there's anything that I can say about it, that opening sequence, amazing, and one of the best like credit / post credit sequences ever. So the beginning and the end, all the kudos, all the flowers, and then the middle's pretty good too. Like it's a good action zombie movie. And I just wish they called it something not Dawn of the Dead.
yeah. Called it something else. Dawn of the Alive. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, call it Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I don't care, but I guess he didn't have a name then. But like, just like if they had called it anything else, I probably would have been. Oh, another good musical choice. The Muzak version of "Don't Worry, Be Happy" in the mall. That was great.
Yeah.
That was,
So you give it? You said 2.5 out of 5?
I said 3.5 out of
Three-
5. I was at 2.5, and then on re-examination, I'm going to bump it. You know what? Yeah. I'll say 3. Maybe it should be 3. Maybe it should be 3.
Okay.
I see. The thing is, I used to be such a hard ass, and then like now I think I'm becoming a softie. But let's say 3.5. Sure.
3.5. So on
Zack
our
Snyder
scale,
Dawn of
I think so. The highest you can give something is This Is Cinema. It's the highest you can give something. The lowest you can give something is Waste of Fucking Film, and then in between all that, so below This Is Cinema, there's Peak, there's Tune In, and there's a Stream It. So I think with a 3, that's about a tune in. So you give it a 2.
Yeah, it's a stream it, tune in. Like it's worth watching. If you like zombie movies, you should watch it.
Yeah.
Don't be hung up on it like I was.
And then for me, I would give Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder 2004 film. So I do think this is his best film out of his whole kind of filmography there. Like I said, really the pace of the movie, the action of the film. I don't think it touches on obviously the iconic nature of the 1978 film with George A. Romero, who he is the godfather of obviously all the zombie genre there. People credit him for that. Because of his zombie films, we get so many other zombie things like 28 Days Later, like all the video games like Resident Evil and so on and so forth. I mean, he very much is the father of that. So you got to give it up to him. So it's hard to touch that there. But I think, this is its own thing there, and it fits a modern audience for kind of what it represents there. Still looks really good 20 years later. I mean, the
Yeah.
effects with the zombies, that all looks really good there, what they do. So that's very good. Like I said, love the cast here. You got a good people assembled there. Vin Rhames, Sarah Polley, Mekhi Phifer there. Really good cast assembled for this. For this movie. You root for it. Hey, the black guy survives. If you just cut off the credits, you go like, hey, black guy still lives. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Just cut off the credits.
Still can have a happy ending if you stop the movie early.
Yeah, just cut off the credits there. Like I said, good credit sequence too. That was really good at the end of the movie, like a little kind of stinker or something like that at the end. You can watch there as well. So for me, I would give it a high tune in, kind of bordering on peak for me for the Zack Snyder.
Okay, all right.
film. I liked it quite a bit. So yeah. Thank you. That was our review for Zack Snyder 2004, Dawn of the Dead. Thank you, Conan. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Yeah, like I it's nice to re-examine something that you thought was one way and it turned out to be another way. It's nice. It's nice to be pleasantly surprised that way rather than the other way around.
Yeah. One more time, what people can find you, what you got going on, what you got coming up next, man?
Yeah, at Conan Neutron on almost everything. I'm on all the social medias. My band Conan Neutron The Secret Friends on tour, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Best place to get music, but it's on everything else. You can look at the link tree right there to see what's going on with that. Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal is my podcast, one-on-one music interview show. Many episodes of that we have over the course of the last 10 years. So if you're into that kind of thing, that's all over for that. There's a Patreon for that, $1 a month that you can join for advance access. And of course, most relevant to this show, as you know since you've been on it, Josh, Movie Night Extravaganza, the irreverent and lively informed movie show that is currently going through vampire movies. We're doing vampires for a month of October. So we said The Hunger, we're doing The Lost Boys tomorrow at the time of this recording, which I'm very excited about. And we're going through the history of the vampire movie, more or less. And that's been a lot of that's been very enjoyable.
Is that the movie with the dude with the sax? I Still Believe. That's that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it is indeed the movie, and it's like he serves no purpose for the plot other than it just being awesome.
Is it true that he was like a drug addict and then he got like into weightlifting and then it was like Tina Turner's like backup saxophone?
He was Tina Turner's backup saxophone guy. I need to, gosh, I guess I better find that information out before we do the show tomorrow, huh? That sounds great.
At least that's the lore. That's the lore on the dude, that he was a drug addict and then he got into weightlifting and.
I know he still tours.
Oh, he's still
so good for that guy. Yeah.
Okay. Does he still believe? Oh no,
he does. I'm sure he does still believe. I will say this is Lost Boys is one of the first movies, first of all, to have vampires that are not adults. This is a pre-interview with a vampire, them being teenagers, including teenage Kiefer Sutherland. That was a pretty big deal at the time. Also, not living in like Victorian metropolitan, decay, but they're on the beach in Santa Carlo, excuse me. All very interesting stuff that kind of helped move the genre along before to prove that you could do other things with the kind of stories. So that's what we're covering tomorrow. If you're interested in that, tune in. We stream live on YouTube and Twitch, usually Tuesdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. But we do Friday episodes as well. We're doing What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, which there is a movie before the show on Friday. So that's the next one after that. And then From Dusk Till Dawn the week after that, and then Abigail, and that closes the month out.
Yeah, nice. Good choices. I love What We Do in the Shadows. I love the show as well.
Yeah, same here. I'm sure we're going to talk about the show during the episode. I mean, we're going to try to keep it to the movie, but how can we not? I mean, for Jackie Daytona alone, right?
Yeah. And From Dusk Till Dawn, I love that clip of George Clooney talking about how he got the role from Dusk Till Dawn. That's always funny. That's a meme. That's
Quentin Tarantino being his brother. That's funny too. It's like, wow, those guys are brothers. Jesus. One definitely won the genetic lottery out of those two. Peace and love.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right, brother.
Make sure to put your links in the description below, and I'll upload the video. I'll let you know, man.
Thanks for having me. Until next time.
Till next
Later.
time. Take care. All right. What's going on there, Sage?
Hey, didn't mean to awkwardly crash the last couple minutes of that review.
Oh no, that's no problem. No worries there. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So, Nick was supposed to join me. Don't know where he is there, but because we were supposed to do Nightmare on Elm Street, but I guess I'll just do it another time. I'll do Nightmare on Elm Street there. When's the last time you saw Nightmare on Elm Street?
Year and a half, 2 years ago. That's the longest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Did you like when Freddy rapped? When he did this rapping Freddy Krueger there?
That wasn't in the first one, was it?
No, that wasn't in the first one there. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't remember that. I know which one was that in? Was that 4?
I forgot when they did that. Yeah, I think maybe it was 4. They had him rap and everything like that. Yeah.
Those movies get pretty ridiculous and silly once you get past. Well, I mean, even just the second one's actually pretty silly, but they definitely continue to escalate as they go.
Yeah. Let me pull up my stuff here because you're gonna do Until Dawn. So let me get the notes for that one here. Do. All right,
There it is. Certain Lara Croft. The glorious.
What is it?
All right. Add those clips in there. So Sage has joined me here today. Sage from Radiant Infinite Maturity. Gonna do a review for Until Dawn and gonna do a review for Tomb Raider. The Lara Croft. The Legend of Lara Croft. Do you say Laura or do you say Laura?
I say Lara.
Lara. Yeah, that's the proper way to say it, I think. Yeah, that's how the Brits say it. Lara Croft there. So yeah, do a review for that. And then yeah, after this, I'll go ahead and raid somebody there. Thank you to Ghost with the most there. Thanks for showing up for the Dawn of the Dead remake review. Also, Bloodline JP. Thank you so much for that. Very much appreciated. Yeah. But Sage, let people know about you. What you got going on, man? What you got coming up next?
Yeah, you can find me over at Rated M for Immaturity on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all under that exact same name. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're working on Silent Hill 2 that just came out. Slowly plugging away at that, doing it on New Game Plus, messing around with some of the goofy elements of the hidden objective stuff in the game. And then Saturday nights we're doing Blasphemous. We're going to start a new game this upcoming week, actually. That's 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday. It's kind of like a 2D platformer Dark Souls. It's actually started out as a pitch for an actual 2D Dark Souls at the From Software company, and then the guy, when they didn't do it, he decided he was going to go leave and start his own little studio to do it. So, and then right now we just have those two shows going on. Normally we've got a third show, but Tim, our host for the third show that we usually have each week or every other week, his computer just got fried, so it might be a little bit before we have that one up and going again.
That's a shame. How'd it get fried?
I don't know. He just said it went down.
Hopefully it's not too expensive to fix up there.
Said it's at least a couple $100.
Yeah. So this is your YouTube. I just showed your Twitch right there. Rated Immaturity there. This is your YouTube, same name, Rated M for Immaturity. People can check it out. Various
Every
playlists.
VOD we've ever done.
Every VOD you ever done there, all the way back. So yeah, whole list of games that people can check out that you've done. Nice variety there, all types of different genres of games. People can check out there.
Horror, action, platformer, puzzle, fighting, you name it. We've probably done something like it.
Yeah, very nice. This kind of looks like a Juji Ito kind of style.
Yeah. Never Ending Nightmares is a cool indie game. I want to say came out back in 2014, 15, somewhere around there. It's a short one. But it's a really cool little title. It's got a great art style. It is very kind of Junji Ito reminiscent. That like really hard sketch lines. This is a really, really fun little indie title. Probably get it for like $5, or less, honestly.
Damn, the hell's happening here? Oh man, he's like, man, I'm not doing the cleanup. Fuck this. Somebody else gonna do it. Shit.
Increasing the workload for the next person that comes by.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll make sure to put your links in the description below. Upload the video there. Also, happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadians out there. It's their Thanksgiving today. So happy Thanksgiving to them. Very, very nice.
Did they do that? I guess I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they got their own Thanksgiving there very early on. Also, Coach Nick, it was his birthday this past Friday there. So if people want to wish him a happy birthday, be awesome there. Awesome
Birthday,
stuff.
Nick.
Yeah, very good. Did you want to do Lara Croft? Do you want to do Until Dawn? You want to do the
Let's do Tomb Raider first.
Okay, you want to do Tomb Raider? All right, I'll go ahead, queue up Tomb Raider here. I pull up my notes for it. Go ahead, get started. Lara Croft. All right. Okay, so our first review of the day is going to be for the Netflix animated series, The Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft there. And Lara Croft in this is played by Haley Atwell. Haley Atwell who's doing the voice here. People might know she was Agent Carter in the MCU there. She was good old there, Agent Carter. Peggy, good old Peggy there in that. And she's voicing the role here. And this animated series takes place after the rebooted video game series there. So this is the reboot trilogy there. So this is which concluded with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So this takes place after those events. So as far as canon and timeline wise, that's where it kind of lines up there, which kind of makes sense because the model of Laura Croft very much fits the rebooted version of the character that you have there. Very much fits that style there. And so what it does is kind of fills the gaps in the timeline, bridging the reboot trilogy to the original series of games there. Did you play the rebooted Tomb Raider games?
Yeah, I played all three of them.
Okay, and what were your thoughts on those?
I liked them for the most part. One thing that I do think they struggled with a bit was, well, two things I think they struggled with a bit because I'll mention both because I think it feeds into the show a little. Um, is they had a bit of a trouble creating like a supporting cast, I think, in those games that was super interesting. Like I think Lara was always characterized in a way that was interesting and engaging, but sometimes the supporting casts of those felt, I don't know, felt a little bland. And then the other big thing was, and this was what I don't, what at times in this show sometimes feels like it doesn't totally line up the way it feels like it's supposed to, is when you start this series, she's very, very hung up on the death of her mentor Roth, which that happens in the first of the reboot trilogy. That's the 2013 game, and she's not super hung up on his death in at least in the third game. She's kind of moved on, or kind of had closure over that already. Um, and so there is a little bit of the like kind of what happened with the Spider-Man trilogy, the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, where they introduced him and made a big point about how he's kind of gone through that character development. He's become Spider-Man. He's had that moment already. And then later they're like, oh, but it turns out this was all an extended origin story. And it kind of seems like they're doing character regression just a little bit. So it's an interesting thing is that it's supposed to, because I didn't know before watching this that it was supposed to be like a direct follow-up to the three games. But I do feel like it where her character is at the end of that third game doesn't quite feel like the same place that this picks up. It kind of feels like you have to ignore a little bit of what happened in the games for this to totally make sense.
Okay. And this is a show run by Tasha Hio there, who show runs in. This is an 8-episode series. Like I said,
This
on
is Powerhouse Animation, is that correct? The studio that they did Castlevania as well.
yes, yeah, it is Powerhouse Animation there who did do this. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. They also did Castlevania as well. It's one of the things they also did there. Yeah, yeah, very nice. They did Castlevania Nocturna and also the initial Castlevania series as well. And they also did Blood of Zeus, Masters of the Universe there, Skull Island. They also did, so they did all those projects there as well. So 8-episode series you have here, so it'll be nice to get your input because you've played the games. I have not played the rebooted Tomb Raider games there. I know they also are coming out with a remaster of the original games. They're also doing that very recently.
Let me check. I want to say that might already have come out.
Okay. Yeah, because I know they also were talking about doing a collection of Tomb Raider collection there.
Oh yes. So I guess there's three different remastered trilogies. So you've got the original three, like the PlayStation 1 games. Those got a remaster. Was that last year? I want to say that came out. And then they did a remaster of the reboot trilogy, like the PS3, PS3, PS4 games, just like a year or two ago as well. And then they just also announced another round of remastered games that are like the PS2 era games. So that's like three whole sets of remastered trilogies that this brand is. I think sometimes people forget just how many of these there have been.
A whole lot there. With this kind of franchise, long running video game franchise there. So yeah, that's kind of the setup here. And like you said, it deals with kind of Laura dealing with the death of her mentor Roth there. Who Roth in this is voiced by. Let me see if I can find the name. Who's Roth in this? Nolan North. There, who's famous voice actor Nolan
That
North.
that
Nathan Drake.
hilarious actually.
Whose voice characters like Nathan Drake, most famously there. So yeah, I mean, she's kind of trying to deal with the trauma of that. Also, there's another adventure there, of course, with Lara Croft there that she's going on a tomb raiding adventure. Can't be Lara Croft if she's not raiding some tombs, getting some treasure, fighting some bad guys there. Sage, what are your thoughts on this series here?
Well, it was an interesting watch because starting the first episode, it was a little bit of a it was a little bit of a shock as far as going like, oh, I thought we'd totally like in this continuity kind of moved past this grieving process part of her character arc. The third game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it ends with her basically like putting the outfit on from the original games, and like it feels like, hey, we've completed the character arc. She's fully become the Tomb Raider here. And then starting the show, it kind of felt like, oh, hey, but we have one more story about her fully becoming the Tomb Raider before we're actually there. So during the first episode, I was a little like, okay, it seems a little regressive. It seems like we're pulling back almost too far or ignoring some of what's already been established to make this work. Um, and I also think that in the first episode, I feel like the mystery of the artifact that we're dealing with here isn't maybe quite set up as much as it could have been. Um, Luckily, though, I think a lot of that smooths over as the show starts to go on, as you get into the second episode. I started to pick up with it a lot more. The character dynamics started to click a little bit more. And I think the character arc that they're going for her, as much as I feel like we kind of already went through it, it started to feel like it fits in a way because I'll make this criticism of the reboot trilogy of games too, but I did feel like those games also kind of went, okay, but let's at the end of the game it's like, oh, she's made this big jump in her character, and then at the beginning of the next one it's like, all right, let's take her back a couple of steps. Um, so it's not fair for me to make that criticism of just the show and not make it about those games as well. But ultimately, I actually think this show did a better job than those games of actually showing that character arc. By the time you get to the end of it, I felt like it was a stronger showcase of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like because I want to know a little bit from the reboot games, like you're right, it is like a kind of how does Laura Croft become the badass Laura Croft from the original games that we know? Because in those, she's pretty much already set in kind of her ways there as far as the personality and everything like that. Been doing it for a minute. And then the reboot trilogy was like a way to kind of like an origin story there. And this one kind of feels a little bit like that too, in a sense. And then even the last episode, she gets the iconic two pistols there as well. She's
Which
has
happens at the end of the third game. So that's happened twice within this continuity.
Yeah, and I remember that happened in like the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider. Like at the end of that movie, she also does that
Right.
in that with her guy, and then and then Laura Croft. She has a team of people there. Like I think in the movie Alicia Vikander, it was what's his name, Nick Frost
Um,
there from Shaun of the
oh,
Dead.
was it? Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Was that Frost? I completely forgot about that.
yeah, and then in this animated version, she has like her tech guy, the guy that makes her equipment and costumes like that. So she has her tech guy that helps give her that. She also has another person there who's her mentor there. A guy that's Jonah there as well, who's a friend
Mhm.
as well there. You also have Camilla, who's the
Jonah was part of the crew in the very first game of the 2013 reboot. That was
okay.
part of like the stranded crew. So he's actually been like a substantial supporting character throughout this whole kind of series or
Yeah.
continuity.
Zip is the dude who's, like I said, her tech expert there that's helping him. You always need a person in the chair. I guess he's that guy. You have Zoe Boyle who plays Camilla Roth, who's the daughter of her mentor there. So she kind of comes in there, and you have the villain of this, Charles. I think his name is Davin something or Devore there.
Devereaux.
Daviro there,
Yeah,
who's
and Richard Armitage, right?
yeah, Richard Armitage, who people might know. He was in the TV series Hannibal for a minute there. He was
He
also
was
in The
also
Hobbit.
Trevor.
Oh, you say what?
He was Trevor in the Castlevania series as well.
Yes, he was also that as well there. So yeah, he's kind of well versed in voice acting as well there. So he's the main villain. How did you kind of like the villain in this? It was to me, it was a little campy, which I guess does that fit the style of Laura Croft there a little bit?
You know, I think it does. It's interesting. So you mentioned how this was kind of trying to almost bridge the reboot series of games with the kind of classic series of games. And what's interesting about that is I feel like the tones of those two versions of Tomb Raider are very different. You know, Tomb Raider 2013 is a reboot. It is this like dramatic survival story. You spend a lot of time on her having to like take a human life for the first time, a moment that they kind of repeat again in this series, which again, it's like, if that already happened in this continuity, why are we showing a scene of it? Something that's already been done within this exact same, like, there's some moments like that. But then the classic Tomb Raider is very much the I'm gonna run up a wall, backflip, and then shoot a dinosaur in the face in slow motion. So there's a little bit of a weird disconnect between these two versions of Tomb Raider, and I think this show does a decent job at trying to bridge that gap. Um, but it also it makes things like what is like a very cheesy villain who I think fits into the old school Tomb Raider kind of perfectly. Like that's exactly what I would expect from like a evil mercenary in one of the old Tomb Raider games. But as far as like the way that they try and tell stories in the rebooted trilogy, it tries to be a lot more grounded in those. So it feels like very over the top for that and very campy for that. But then it kind of fits into the old versions pretty well. So I don't know. It's a weird gap to try to bridge. But I think the show does the best it can. But the tones between those two sets of games are just so different to begin with that you end up with some stuff like that where it's like some of these pieces don't totally feel like they're fitting together.
Mm, okay. Because when you look at, mentioned in the movies there, because that's kind of one of some of my more experience with the Tomb Raider stuff is the movies there, like with Alicia Vikander, which I saw, and that one was just kind of mediocre. Like like out of video game movies, it wasn't the most worst thing you ever seen, but it wasn't like it was kind of like okay. I mean, you
Yeah, it was
existed,
pretty forgettable.
you just kind of existed there, I guess. There
Only
was
fun
that.
part was Walton Goggins.
Yeah. And then with the Angelina Jolie movies, which I've seen a long time ago, would you say that with kind of the villain and kind of that fits kind of that tone a little bit, like with the Angelina Jolie type films there?
I would say that feels more like the tone of that. I mean, I haven't seen that at least that first one in so long. But I would say that it did have the feel of what those games felt like at the time. I don't know how good of a movie it is because it's been so long since I've seen it, but that is kind of the vibe. Like I remember as a kid, I definitely associated like Tomb Raider being like a very similar kind of character as like Trinity in the Matrix, like even
Mm,
just based on the games. So like it did have elements of that, correct? At the very least, stylistically.
mm, okay. Yeah. I mean, you saw she was doing backflips, she was shooting the guns, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
like
she had her own
robots.
like danger room. She got her own like X-Men, she got her own danger room there.
Yeah.
Um, got that kind of going on. What'd you think about the supporting cast of this in the show?
You know, it's interesting. I keep going back and forth on them. I think that they can be fun, and I think that they have moments, but I never felt like they never felt like super fleshed out characters. They felt like they were kind of stuck in the realm of archetypes still.
Mm,
And they had moments, and they that Jonah certainly had moments where I was like, oh, I appreciate how compassionate he is within the narrative here. and I definitely got a few chuckles out of was it Sid, the tech
Uh,
guy's name?
Zip, Zip.
Zip. Zip. I got a few chuckles out of him. I thought some of the jokes, not maybe all of them, but some of them I thought landed pretty decently well. But I never felt like they were super engaging characters, or like they had or like they never it felt like they had like arcs themselves to me. Laura feels like she has an arc, one that's repeated from previous entries, but an arc nonetheless. And I do feel like that's something that these Tomb Raider reboot games have suffered from since 2013, and to me is always kind of like Lara's good, and I'm engaged by what's going on with her, but there's always kind of a lackluster sense of character in its supporting cast, and that's been really consistent, I think, across all four of these stories.
Mm. Yeah, I think she's the most fleshed out person out of everybody, which makes sense. I mean, she's the lead character, but also what makes a great show is if you have a good supporting cast and they also feel like good characters themselves. And the side characters, they're fine. I mean, a lot of it is them worrying about Laura. I mean, they're kind of identity is so attached to her, and like she's
Yeah.
kind of cut herself off from everybody because of what happened with Roth, and you know it's a lot of like, Jonah kind of trying to reach out to her and, are you okay? And there. So there's a lot of that kind of going on. And of course it's the streaming thing where, it's the 8 episode kind of thing. That's always the, dreaded 8 episode season of a streaming service,
Yeah.
which I think it works fine here. I don't think this needs to be very super long.
It probably could have been just a movie, or just an animated movie, honestly.
That might also work as well. I mean, you're not telling that really that complex of a story here, really. So it could have been maybe you fit into a movie, and each episode's about like 20 something to 30 something minutes long. So yeah, you could probably watch it in an evening in a day there, if you
I
just
did.
kind of set through there. Um, the action of the series, I would say, is really the animation. There is really one of the big selling points with this. What do you think about a lot of the action kind of going on?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. With one exception, I thought the kind of motorcycle chase in the first episode was a bit weak. But I thought once I got past that first episode into the rest of it, I thought that the rest of the action scenes were really good. And there's one in particular in kind of I mean, I guess there's two or three in the last episode, but I thought those like back to back to back were like, okay, this feels like playing Tomb Raider in the early 2000s. And I thought that was really fun.
Oh, you're not talking about this, are you?
Yeah, I thought this was hilarious.
And where she's fighting I don't even know what you call this thing, griffin, dinosaur,
I I
dragon
assume it's
shit.
a
Yeah,
Chinese mythology creature, but I
yeah,
don't know what the name would be.
yeah.
But there's another fight after this one, a bit later in the final episode, that was like, oh, this feels like ripped straight out of like the first Tomb Raider game.
Yeah. So yeah, some of the anime, and you can say mention Powerhouse Animation who did Castlevania. If you ever seen Castlevania, great action scenes in Castlevania. Really takes your breath away there. I mean, none of it reaches that level, I think, for me, in this because
No.
Castle. I mean, I guess you're dealing with people with powers, and you get a lot of that kind of going, so they can really go wild with a lot of that, like a mage and a vampire, and all that stuff. You can really go wild with a lot of stuff happening there. So none of it reaches that level for me there. But I think still some strong animation that you have kind of going on in this as well there. So that was pretty nice. And I think one of the big things with the series there. So that's pretty strong. And they do set up a season 2 there at this. They kind of set that up. Would you want to see a season 2?
I'd be open to watching it. I enjoyed this enough. Like I said, we're not telling a story here that's super complicated, right? This is a pretty
Right.
simple action movie story. Um, I would say maybe they could make it slightly shorter,
Five
but
episodes?
yeah, maybe five, or just make it, or just release it as a movie. Don't cut it into episodes. Just release it as an animated movie. I honestly think that would work better for the format.
Okay. Yeah, because it's bad guy gets magic item. It's like most of how these adventure things go. He gets a magic item. He wants to do evil with the magic item, and then turn into a big creature, and then they have to fight the big creature there. A lot of it is, with action adventure films like The Mummy or Indiana Jones or Uncharted or something. It's like the personality of the lead of the characters and the adventure, and can you make it exciting enough for them to do the thing that you care about? Like, I think the best thing about The Mummy isn't the real villain. I mean, even though the villain is good in The Mummy, with the way the actor plays him, it's the cast and the personalities there
Oh, for
with
sure.
that. Um, and I don't think, like I said, besides Laura, I don't think the personalities of everybody's really that strong there with kind of the adventure with that. I just it's kind of plain in that sense there. If they do a season two, I'd want to see them improve that. I think make some improvements there in the writing and make that stronger. Also, kind of make maybe more the animation a little bit better there and make it stronger. Go a little bit more wild there. You mentioned it in, like, the motorcycle. Let me see if I can pull up that scene, the motorcycle scene, if I can find that there. That was a little rough
Yeah,
for you.
I thought
I
that
thought
was
that
a
was
little rough looking. I think the street and the buildings that she's racing through, just I think the 3D looked very distracting to me, where it's like I could tell the whole environment around it looked very 3D, and then the motorcycle and her looked very 2D. And I just thought that like it was lit in it was a nighttime scene, so it probably blended a little better because of that. But I just felt like there was just such an obvious kind of gap in the two animation styles that just I don't know, it didn't quite work for me.
mm, yeah, and, it's not I can't find the motorcycle scene of that one, but, I think there's some segments of it that look pretty good, I think, with that one. So yeah, you kinda had that going. Yeah. So classic. I mean, like you said, kind of classic, Lara Croft type of storytelling there with it, with kind of the action adventure, with the whole magical item, everything like that. Very short. You can watch this in a evening if you kind of wanted to. There, for me, it's kind of average. I think for me overall, there nothing really super spectacular. There that stands out. I did like Haley Atwell as Lara Croft. Did like her voice work here and that. I did like the personality of, Laura Croft. I thought that worked really well, and of course, you would want your titular character to be the star of the show and to be kinda one of the best things about it, and I think she is here. Mentioned the animation and the action here that works well. I like how they incorporate different elements of the game there, like, there's even a puzzle scene there where they do the puzzle kinda stuff there, which is good. She has her trusty pickaxe, there that she has, which I remember that was a very key defining thing in the reboot video games was the pickaxe. They're using that to climb and everything like that. So yeah, for me, I give it a kind of a basic stream it for me. For this, what about you?
I'm right in the same spot. Basic stream it for me as well. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed my time with it. It was a good kind of popcorn. Again, I keep wanting to say movie because it feels more like a movie than a series, just tonally and how the how kind of basic the character arcs are. Um, and so I would still be open to another season though. I en enjoyed this enough to be interested in that. Just like you though, I would be hopeful that they would maybe do some more with the supporting cast, just add more character to them. Um, if you have to introduce some new characters to do that, then so be it. Um, I think, being kind of the fourth entry in this continuity, having these three other games before it, and I felt like the supporting cast was a weak point in all three of those games. Doesn't leave me super hopeful that they actually will have a more interesting supporting cast in a season two. Um, just because it feels like kind of a repeated mistake that keeps happening. But and then I guess the one other thing going into another season is just can we have a different character arc for Lara Croft if we do another one of these? Because like I said, the 2013 game, it was about her becoming the Tomb Raider and getting over the death of Roth. And then in the second game, it was like, oh well, she's got to kind of get over her grieving and become the Tomb Raider. And then in the third game, it's like, all right, she's finally going to get over her grieving and become the Tomb Raider. And I'm like, all right, okay, it feels like we finally did that. What's going to be next? And then this comes out and it's like, she's got to get over her grieving and become the Tomb Raider. And I'm like, that's getting a bit repetitive now.
Yeah. Also, yeah, it shows a little bit of the in the trailer right here. So I can see what you mean about the buildings and everything like that. I can see some of it following. So yeah, kind of obviously kind of 3D there with that. Yeah, like that right there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, just a little bit. It wasn't like horrible by any means, but compared to the other action scenes that I did think were really fluid, that one just looked a little weird.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, so different season 2, different arc for Lara Croft there. She's got the 2 guns, okay, it's time that she's now settled in. She's okay with being a serial killer now. It's fine. Go out there and do those action adventure things and be the classic Lara Croft that we kind of know her to be there. And for some reason, even this, for some reason, got some controversy kind of going on with it, with kind of Lara Croft. So you got people like this who, yeah, are kind of circling things here, going like, she looks like a man here, and people pointing out this. Kind of, I don't know, like a forearm. I guess women don't have forearms. I guess I don't know what that's.
No, I've never seen one. I've never seen a woman with
I yeah,
or a chin. They
chin
don't have
there.
those either.
Yeah. Even when you look at like her so very much she is like similar to how she is in the reboot video game, which I say is pretty much there. So here's some different versions of kind of how she looks. So this is one version. Obviously, this is more from the early PlayStation era there, Lara Croft there.
She honestly doesn't even look that different from this though, either. Like this isn't that different from the way she looks now.
Yeah, you see
Like,
some
especially if you pull up the very first game's costume,
like this one.
where she's well, yeah, that's basically the original game's costume, just done in the reboot game style, pretty much. That's, I mean, the original game where she's got the tank top,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much
Even
it.
even the same muscle definition there as in the animated show, I would say even that's
Yeah.
similar there. Yeah, I, pretty much there. What is she playing? Oh, she playing with the Wii? Oh, they got her playing the Wii or something?
Oh gosh, she got Wii controller in her hand.
Yeah, damn, that's a throwback. Yeah, playing the Wii there. So yeah, I mean, it looks the same as some of the other versions we've been in, and very much the design of her is very much like the design of the reboot video game. Very much trying to emulate that. So
Maybe
yeah,
they're just mad her boobs aren't triangles anymore.
yeah, they don't look like the Cybertruck anymore. Maybe people are just mad at that. So yeah, that's just something. Of course, stupid people going stupid. I guess it just is what it is there. With that.
You
So
know what these people are doing? They are unhappy. They don't like the way they look. And instead of doing any work on themselves or coming to term with any of their psychological issues, they're just digging a deeper and deeper hole in their soul. And they're just angry, and they'll die alone.
gee. Yeah, I mean, you got this one response of this person who says that she looks like a uh JoJo Bizarre Adventure character there. Yeah, when you look at that there and you pulled up some JoJo Bizarre Adventure, it's like, yeah, very much they look like women. I mean, JoJo Bizarre Adventure characters.
Yeah.
And then
That's definitely just a muscular woman.
yeah. And you watched a lot of JoJo Bizarre Adventure. I mean, yeah. I mean, you know about the designs of those characters there.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
it's not only is it funny because the Stone Ocean, the season that primarily features a largely female cast, has characters that they just look like muscular women. If you if you go and look at the male characters from Golden Wind, which is the second to most recent season, those are the most effeminate looking men like I've ever seen in anything. So it's maybe if you're going to complain that like, oh, she looks like a man, maybe don't use the most effeminate men of all time as the example.
yeah. The comparison in JoJo is really not the best
No,
example there.
it's
Um,
the worst example possible to try and make.
yeah. Yeah. So, two streamings for uh, the Legend of Lara Croft there, Tomb Raider. So, two streamings there. All right, and you got a review that you're gonna do there from Until Dawn. All right, let me cue that up for you. All right, so Sage has a review of Until Dawn, not the remastered one that is out right now. But the original 2015 Until Dawn. Sage, what do you got to say about this
I will make a few comments about the remaster at the end of this here.
game? Okay.
First of all, have you ever played this game yourself?
No, I have not.
So this was released in 2015 on the PlayStation 4. Is developed by Supermassive. This game had a bit of a weird trajectory to eventually coming out. It was originally being made, I believe, to be like a first-person game that was specifically made to be used with like I don't know if you remember the PS3 Move controllers that had like the glowing like sphere on the end, and it was like kind of trying to be like a Wii motion controller.
Oh yeah. Did you see that story? Somebody, I think I sent you. Somebody did surgery with it. From
I did see that. That was wild. I guess they're still getting use out of them. More
yeah,
use than you probably got out of for your PlayStation, but um,
yeah.
this was originally being developed on there, and then I don't know exactly why it was shifted, or if it was just that they just kept having to delay it because it was taking so long. But it got pushed back a whole generation pretty much to the PS4, and at that point they shifted gears, shifted gameplay style. You end up having this kind of fixed camera angle, almost like old school Resident Evil kind of visual style going on while you're moving the characters around. Total third person game. Um, you end up having say 8 playable characters here, and it's very much a teen slasher movie, right? Like this is a classic teen slasher type story. But two big things that make it unique versus everything else on that genre. One, it kind of slides into the subcategory where stuff like Scream or Cabin in the Woods sits. And it does mess around with tropes and kind of expectations a little bit. And it is funnier than you would maybe expect it to be. Like there's actually some really clever stuff in this game. That's just not necessarily how it looks on its surface. It looks more like a typical Friday the 13th type thing. But it's actually got some really cool twists and turns as the story goes along. And then the other thing that makes it a bit different is as a video game, it's got a little experimenting to do with the format. And it does have the kind of choose your own adventure style thing. Now, you've got a lot of games like that. Telltale's Walking Dead is another great one, people that is very beloved. But even that game, for as beloved as it is, you can't really change the outcomes so much in that game. Like it's pretty much going to happen the way it's going to happen, and some details might change along the way depending on the choices you make. But you're pretty much settled into one story path. Here, well, there are broad strokes that can't change, such as like what's going on with the killer, like what the mystery turns out to be. That's just going to be the same no matter how many times you play it. What can change is you have of these 8 characters, you can have any combination of them either be alive or dead by the time the game's over. Any of them. Nobody is 100% safe. Nobody is 100% going to die. I've done runs of this game where I have had everybody live, and ones where I've gotten everybody killed on purpose just to see what it's like. So you can really mess around with that, and it makes for a very fun, especially like party game experience. This game was weirdly had very little marketing when it was coming out. Like they really did not put a lot in this. I remember like catching a commercial or two, and I think I just had recently quit working at GameStop actually before this came out, and I went back to where I worked. I was like on a whim, let me just pick this up. My discount hasn't expired yet, but they're barely advertising it. It looks kind of interesting, and it ended up being like in my top 2 or 3 games the year it came out. And it was kind of a sleeper hit. It really was a surprise to people that it was as effective, that it was as interesting as it was, and it blew up on streaming. Like going back to 2015, I wasn't using stuff like Twitch so much at the time, so I don't know how big Twitch was as a platform necessarily, but it seemed like this was one of the first big games I remember really blowing up and being kind of a big deal for streamers, people playing with their audience and having people vote on what just choices to make in the story and stuff like that. And so it's got a kind of kind of a special place. And I think it's got this very interesting spot in kind of the hierarchy of like horror video games that have come out, especially because in the kind of 2010s, it was a weird time when horror games were kind of on a downward climb. Like we weren't really getting a lot of horror. Silent Hill hadn't really been around much except for PT, which got canceled. Resident Evil dropped Resident Evil 6 in 2012, which was infamously terrible and killed that franchise until it finally like came back in like 2017. So a good 5 years where that just was dead. Um, and yeah, like a lot of stuff just we weren't just seeing a lot of horror in general. And so this really came out at a time when it was like people like me who I'm very, very, very into the horror game genre. Is this edited or is this footage from something?
This is the Until Dawn Choices interactive trailer.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't see this particular trailer myself then. I
Yeah.
didn't realize they had a live action one. Well, that's interesting. Um, but yeah, it was just it came out at an interesting time when there just wasn't a lot else happening, and it was able to get a lot of attention because of that. The unfortunate thing is Supermassive has made a number of games since this, the Dark Pictures anthology. They've released like 4 or 5 of those, like kind of mini game, like small, like half games that try and kind of replicate the style in different settings with different casts of characters. Um, and then they did the Quarry last year, which was a little bit better than the Dark Pictures, but still, it feels like Until Dawn is this really high benchmark that they keep trying to kind of live up to and recapture this lightning in a bottle moment. And it really doesn't seem like they've been able to do it. But this is a really, I think, really amazing game. I think it's something that's worth going back to for sure. To actually get into the story a little bit, you start and you've got 10 at the time at the opening, like 10 young adults. They're at a cabin on a mountain in the middle of the winter, and of course, very kind of I know what you did last summer style opening, where some of these characters play a prank on this one girl, and her sister end up she's the one sister that gets the prank on her. She runs out of the house embarrassed, and the sister chases after her, and they end up getting lost and dying. And then the game jumps ahead a year, and everybody kind of reuniting to celebrate these or the life of these characters and to kind of mourn them. It's like the
Um,
first time they've all seen each other since this happened.
and you mentioned the cast, so you have a all-star
Yeah,
cast
we
of
get a
people,
really big cast.
actors here. Hayden Panettiere is in this, who people might know. She was in Heroes, and she was also in the Scream movies. Rami Malek from Mr. Robot, Freddie Mercury, Brent Dalton, who people might know, Agents of Shield there as well. So you got that kind of going on. So yeah,
And
some
you have these wonderful sequences in between, like the chapters, where Peter Stormare plays this psychologist that you talk to in like first person, and he just has such a great, creepy, like in Cabin in the Woods when meet the guy at the gas station and they're talking about him back in the office and they go, there's this the reason we have the Harbingers, there's this creepy old guy that basically wears a sign saying you're all gonna die, and this is totally that character in this story.
you want to play some footage right here? Is this
Sure,
kind of a
sure.
good right here?
I think this is the first one time he shows up, but his office also gets progressively like weirder and more messed up looking every time you go back to him.
So you want me to go to like this one right
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Skip ahead there and see if there's any of that stuff just around him. It's still, it still looks like a relatively normal office at that point. And then yeah, you come right back and up. Curtains are torn to shreds.
I would like to understand your feelings toward people of fear, isolation, loneliness. share this fear.
And this is
He's chewing the scenery in such a great way.
yeah. And people know Peter. I mean, he's like a that guy actor. Like you've seen him in various stuff. He usually plays like your Eastern European mob boss villain guy. He was in John Wick 2. He was in that one.
Yeah, he ran the like auto body shop that he gets his car from in like the opening sequence of two.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what he usually kind of plays in movies there. Yeah. So you mentioned Cabin in the Woods, so it kind of has that style there. And I think Cabin in the Woods came out, I think a year before this. I want to say video
Oh, a
game.
couple of years. Cabin in the Woods was 2012, I believe. And I remember that because I remember seeing the Avengers and Cabin in the Woods the same year and going, "Wow, Cabin in the Woods had a way crazier third act than the Avengers."
Yeah, and then you realize, oh shit, Thor. Thor's in this. I think that maybe that helped get it released because Chris Hemsworth was in it. I
Yeah.
think that's part of the reason there. So yeah,
Well,
Cabin
I
in the Woods
believe
was great.
it was originally meant to come out in 2008, I think, and they got shelved for a few years.
Yeah, that's one of the cases that got shelved and comes out and is actually a great movie. It's not like
Thank God it
Borderlands.
got released.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they could have shelved Borderlands. We didn't do that.
So yeah, so it has that. So Until Dawn kind of has that story of like very much a not. I wouldn't say not maybe a parody of horror movies, but an homage to horror movies and playing within the trope
Yeah.
of horror movies. There.
I guess I'd also say it's probably closer to Scream than it is to Cabin in the Woods because
Okay.
Scream takes itself slightly more seriously than Cabin in the Woods, at least the first Scream, where it's like it's funny, it does the trope deconstruction thing, just like Cabin in the Woods does. But Cabin in the Woods takes it to such an 11th degree where it's like Cabin in the Woods could basically be a sequel to any other horror movie. Whereas I think Until Dawn plays with the tropes in a way that is more similar to how Scream does it, where it doesn't feel like it is just like the end all be all like of horror stories, the way that I think Cabin in the Woods positions itself. But it is very clever and it's got some really interesting stuff. You have a killer thing, you've got a creature feature thing, you've got a little bit of a saw thing. There's a lot of gory deaths in here too, and like I said, that's not even a spoiler because any of these characters can die, any of them can live. The way that this plays out can change so completely by the time it's over, and it's got an incredible replay value for that reason. Now, the first maybe couple hours I could see being a little slow, which maybe not everybody's going to want to replay because that opening section is maybe just a little slow paced. But once it really gets going, I mean, there's a lot of different ways and paths you can take. They even try and like really psych you out in certain ways with your choices that get characters killed. Like I believe Matt he's played by Jordan Fisher in the game. He's kind of the jock character, and there's a bit where you go up to this radio tower, and you find a flare gun, and if you use it, what would you think if you find a flare gun, you climb up a radio tower because you're like, all right, this is the best thing we can do to get help right now. You find a flare gun, would you use the flare gun on top of the radio tower?
I would, yeah. I think that would be get help.
It seems like, so that's what I did, right? It seems like exactly what you'd want to do. Unfortunately, that seals that character's death in stone like 4 or 5 hours before it actually happens in the game. Because if you don't use it, he has a flare gun to defend himself with, like several hours later in the game. So it's like the game will kind of do things where it's kind of trying to trick you, and then it encourages that replay value, like I mentioned. But yeah, like you said, you have a really great cast here. Rami Malek, I would say, and along with Peter Stormare, is a really big standout. Do we want to talk full spoilers since this game is like 10 years old? Or
Yeah.
okay, so the big thing, right, is these two girls that are part of the group, they die in the opening of the game, right? They get lost. There's a prank, very mean prank. They get lost in the woods. They die, and everybody else comes back a year later to like kind of mourn their death, have like a celebration of life. And Rami Malek plays Josh, who is the brother to the two sisters that die. And
Okay.
you get this kind of like saw killer thing going on for like kind of the first half of the game, and it's clear, very clear. Oh, somebody's punishing them. It's very I know what you did last summer, and then they get to a point where they pull the mask off, and nobody's died yet. It's all been like a very elaborate like prank, right? Because that's
Mm.
what they did to his sisters, and they drop little hints about him being like this movie effects guy and his dad owning like a movie effects studio, and so they set it up really well. And he turns out to be your kind of Saw serial killer, except he's not actually killed anybody. He's off his meds. He is kind of losing his mind, and he wanted to scare everyone as revenge. But then it cuts away over to and it's actually Brett Dalton's character. Him and his girlfriend, they depart from the rest of the crew very early, and something like grabs her head and yanks her out a window. So the whole time you think, oh, this serial killer, whatever's going on, is doing this, and that's some sort of human killer. And then this reveal happens, and you go like, oh, well then what happened over with these other two characters? And then you played a little bit of footage that had that creature, and it turns out that this mountain is infested with wendigos, and it turns into like a full blown creature feature, and it's got some really good like the creatures, the way they move around. They have this just very uh, they have like a predator kind of vision and they're like totally locked in on like motion. So there's also a mechanic in the game where you have to like hold the controller still at a bunch of points, just not move at all. And that you could, if you mess that up, right, that could be a way to get characters killed. Um, but yeah, you have these nasty looking creatures. They move around in ways that they're really cool. It's almost like they have a different frame rate than like the people because of the way
Mm.
they just move around so weird and fast. Yeah, I don't know. It's got such a really cool rug pull with this. Oh, it's like a Saw thing. Oh no, this is like an old school creature feature is what it kind of turns into in the second half. Yeah, it's a really great kind of mid game twist that they do.
Mm. Looks a bit like the vampires from Blade a little bit. Blade 2. Kinda
Oh,
like
with like the way the mouth opens.
yeah, kinda like that a little bit. Mm, yeah. Something like Guillermo del Toro type creation there.
Oh,
Um,
I could totally see that being a Del Toro inspired kind of creature effect. And these things are, of course, they're spirits. There's a lot of Wendigos in like certain Native American legends. And they're typically products of cannibalism. It's like a person that
mm,
commits cannibalism, and the like spirit of the Wendigo possesses their body when they succumb to that temptation. And so then the kind of like alpha Wendigo is one of the sisters that was like lost and supposedly died and went missing in the year before. And so you get these just yeah, really really great like Saw movie, like, do you want to play a game kind of like fake out transitioning into a creature feature? And then the way that it plays with tropes in that transition is just, I don't know. I think it's very clever. I think the first time through, it does a lot of things you don't necessarily expect. And I also think the game, you tell me what you think here, but looking at this footage from a 10-year-old game here, I think it holds up very well. I think it still looks really good.
yeah. And then some people saying with the remaster, it kinda messes with the look of the game. Let me play the trailer of the
That's
remaster.
exactly what I was gonna when I said I had things to say about the remaster. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So this is a comparison trailer right here. I think it's just comparing the PS5 and PC versions of the game there.
Okay.
But this is the remaster. So what is a remaster? How does it differ as far as looks wise from the
So
2015?
so where it is an improvement is that the character models do look more detailed. The lighting engine is a lot better. There's certain shots where the lighting is, I mean, like clearly superior in this remaster.
Oh,
Like that's
they
a
do a
shot
side
right
by
there.
side. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, so like there's shots there that look really good, and the stuff in the trailer is probably mostly gonna look pretty good. But there's a lot of other scenes where at other points in the game where like the original has this kind of blue hue over it, which
Right here.
in
Like a little bit right
like yeah, a lot of the scenes where there's like really strong lighting do look genuinely better in the remake, in the remastered version. But there's a lot of scenes I've seen footage of where there's not a lot of lighting, like you're just kind of wandering totally in the dark. And it's kind of like, if you like tried to do a remastered print of The Matrix and you just completely took the green color filter out of the whole thing.
Mm,
And
okay.
so there's a kind of a blue filter color grading on a lot of the scenes in the original. And
Like right
looking at the
here.
remake, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's a good example. And then the remake, it's very orange, it's very
Yeah.
warm, and it just gives a very, it just gives a very different vibe than what it felt like artistically the original was going for. So it's one of those things where it does look better on certain technical levels, but it kind of reduces the artistry of the visuals from the original, if that makes sense.
Mm, okay. Yeah. You see the comparison right here between like the blue hue, orange type hue right there with it kind of going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
And like I said, the character models do look better in the new one, at least for the most of the footage I've seen, but you lose a certain tone when you start messing with color grading. And that just can be a little weird. I'd still maybe play the other thing is this remaster is like a full $60. It's not like, oh, if you have the original, it's $10 to get like the upgraded version or something like that. It's like, no, it's $60. It's a brand new, it's like listed as full brand new retail price game, which I just feel like is a little much considering I don't think it looks like that much better. And in certain ways looks a little worse, right? At least on that artistic sense. Another part too is a lot of some of the music from the original game is also gone or changed. Um, the opening like kind of credit sequence has the cover of the "Oh Death" that it started in the "Oh Brother Where Art Thou," and then it's been used and covered in a bunch of stuff. Supernaturally used it at one point. But Until Dawn has a really good cover of that song in its opening credits, and that's just completely missing from the remaster. And then there's another thing it does too, where there was like some kind of deleted scenes or unfinished sequences that kind of were cut from the original game, and so there's some new scenes added into the remaster that it tries to kind of make the game a little longer, a little more expansive. And I've watched some of the footage, and you ever watch deleted scenes on like a DVD, and you're
mm,
like, yeah, I know why these are deleted.
mm, okay.
That's kind
Yeah.
of the feeling I had here, where I'm like, these feel superfluous. Like it's cool to see extra stuff like this, but maybe it should have been in like maybe you should have released the remaster with a special features tab, and like you could go look at deleted scenes instead of like editing them into the full game and having you sit and look at all these, because to me it feels like it really hurts the pacing of the game. It makes it feel like certain parts, like especially the intro, there's this like I mentioned, they kind of the whole intro is the year before the rest of the game takes place. There's this prank they do, and in the original it's like 30 seconds you see them like hiding and setting up a video camera to prank this girl. And in the remake it's like it feels like a 10-minute scene that's like set to music of them like partying, like, and then at the end of the partying and dancing set to like what honestly sounded like kind of not very good, like license free like imitation pop music. And then they get to setting up the prank at the end of that sequence. So it feels like it one, color grading is off. It hurts the artistry and the tone of the game. They put these deleted scenes in that extend the game, but in a way that doesn't really work, and it hurts the pacing. And then, sure, the lighting's better and the character models look a bit better. Oh, and then yeah, the one last thing I did want to mention is I did see some clips of certain scenes where even though the character models look better, it seems like the movements, like the facial animation of the expressions, was less expressive than the original. Even though the model is more detailed, it seemed like the actual expressiveness was lesser than the original. So that's another weird slight against the remaster.
Let me see. Let me see if I can get a good comparison there with it. It seems like, yeah. So I'm looking up some of these reviews for the remastered one. I showed that Mirror article right here where it says, "Until Dawn on PS5 is a lesson in how not to do a video game remake." Right there. And then you also have IGN. If you trust IGN, they gave the original one a 7.5, and they gave the remake just a 5. They gave it that one. So has it been kind of negative reaction to this remastered right
I,
here?
I've seen a decent amount of negative reaction to it. It's I mean some of it stems from this game's 9 years old. Like I think if you're gonna do a remake of a game, I think it needs to at least be 10 years old. I think that needs to be like the minimum. You should not be remaking things that are less than a decade old. Like Silent Hill 2 just happened, right? We just reviewed that last week. 23-year-old game. Great time for a remake. This is 9 years old. The original still looks very good. In certain ways, it looks better too. Again, and in certain specific ways, it looks like a better game than the new one. Um, and then also it being at a full $60 price point when it's not that obviously not that massive of an upgrade. If this came out and it was like $10 to get the newer version, I would be much more inclined to well, and a lot of games have that, right? Like you do The Last of Us when they did The Last of Us Part 2
So
remaster earlier this year. If you owned the original, it was just a $10 thing to get the new version, right? And a lot of games do that. A lot of PlayStation games, at least, will give you this $10 upgrade path.
so we mentioned the
Um,
mouth. Is this kind of a good example here? Like the mouth is kind of off a little bit. Or...
yeah. The mouth doesn't seem like it's moving as much. The
Hmm.
cheeks don't feel like they're moving as much. The eyes don't seem like they're quite as alive as they are in the original. It feels like it feels like it's just missing some of its soul a little bit.
Mm, okay. Yeah. I see that a little bit here. Yeah, with it. Actually, I'm gonna play this real quick. This is kind of a good example of it. I think what you're talking about. Hold on just a minute here. Let me fast forward there. Uh, kind of see that. Hmm. Yeah.
Even the camera angles, honestly, even are a little more dynamic and just feel like they're moving more in the
Mm,
original versus the camera seems very static. And then that's another change too is during a lot of gameplay, the camera is like right behind the character's back, like you'd expect in modern Resident Evil or in like the Silent Hill 2 that just came out. But Until Dawn is a game that does not feature combat, not very much, and not in like a traditional way. It's a game mostly you're walking around looking for like clues, or if there is combat, it's in more of like a quick time event sort of way. And so in the original, it's a lot of like fixed camera angles, right? Like the old school Resident Evil style. But here it works really well. I think. I mean, a lot of people would say it works very well in old school Resident Evil as well. But I think in Until Dawn, especially, it works really well because you're not trying to solve puzzles or engage in combat with enemies really. You're just moving around the environments. And so the fixed camera angles during gameplay give this very nice cinematic presentation that makes it feel more like a movie. The camera angles are changing as you walk between rooms. It's always like a view from a corner. There's a moment where I remember where you walk behind like into like a secret room behind a bookshelf, and like the camera is like from the perspective of like a security camera, and then like a spider crawls over the camera lens. But it's still while you're playing the game. And so there's all these really great touches to that presentation in the original, and in this remake, just positioning the camera directly behind the character, like in your typical like modern Resident Evil, it really takes away a lot of that dynamic presentation and it makes it a lot less interesting to look at. And especially, I mentioned before, this was a game that was really big with like streamers or, even though it's a single player game, a lot of people would like get in a room and play it together. They'd pass the controller, when it switches to different characters. And having that dynamic, fixed camera presentation made it a lot more engaging for like whoever's not playing to actually sit and watch it like it's a movie. Like this was one of those games where like, I'm not, like at a party, if I had like a bunch of friends over, I'm gonna try and play like Smash Bros. Or something where I pass some controllers around, right? Not a one player game where only I'm sitting there playing and everybody else just watches. But Until Dawn was the kind of game where if you did that, all the people in the room were actually super cool with it because it was a really engaging, visually presented way to express the story in the game. And so that's just another element that the remake kind of messed up on.
It's like you get to make your own horror movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's got this huge character even early on, like gives you like a spiel about the butterfly effect, and he sounds like a total stoner while he does it. But that you have so many ways that this could play out, and having everybody vote on the decisions is super fun, and like that's still going to be there in the remake, right? Like certain those elements, you can't really mess that up. So like it's not that the remake messes up just every single detail or every element, um, but yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they get enough right, or they get enough of it feels like a genuine upgrade for it to really be worth investing in. I say just get a copy of the original. It's going to be it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper. You're going to be able to get that sucker for 10-20 bucks probably. I would say
Uh,
no more than that.
let's check it out. What is the price of the Until Dawn here? Yeah, I see it. Let's see. You get pre-owned at GameStop and get it for $18.
That's not bad. For a
Mm,
while, and they don't have this anymore, but for like the first 2 years of the PlayStation 5, if you had PlayStation Plus, there was just a whole catalog of free games. First Last of Us was in there, and Until Dawn was one of those too. So there's also a lot of people that just got the original game just for free because it was just part of that like set of free games for signing up for the PlayStation membership. So you're also trying to sell this game. It's a worse looking remaster at full retail price to an audience that had 2 years to get this for free, an honestly better looking version of the same game for free, not that long ago.
yeah.
So
Amazon, it's part of the PlayStation Hits collection. It's 28.50, so about $30. Say you can get it for that price right there. And people might say, well, there's already kind of a newer version of Until Dawn called The Quarry.
mm,
That also has like kind of the same kind of concept as well. Some actors there that mostly known from movie shows come in and do it
yeah,
there. And that came out
Brenda
what
Song and Ed Raimi are both in that one.
yeah, it doesn't have also the other woman from Agents of Shield in there. The one who played Quake, isn't she in that or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so I heard that one wasn't as good as Until
I
Dawn.
played it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was just okay. Like I said, this Studio Supermassive, they've done, yeah, counting the Quarry, they've done like 6 other games since Until Dawn came out. And the other 5 are all part of the Dark Pictures anthology, which is also the same thing, right? Same style of thing, same concept. But I don't think they've been able to recapture Until Dawn. I think there's something really special about Until Dawn, the way that the cast comes together, the way that the story comes together. The story's very clever. It's got real twists that I don't think you see coming that first time through, and it does. And also doing like the Wendigo as a monster is like, oh, I don't see that very often. That's cool. That's just different than like your typical thing. Whereas kind of I mean, I think a lot of the other stuff they've done, the Quarry included, it feels a lot more basic. Feels a lot more just kind of what you expect. Just a lot more simple. And then and they're lower budget too. The rest of these games, Until Dawn also had funding directly from Sony. It was co-produced by Sony. That's why it's an exclusive. Um, so in all these other games like the Quarry, you end up having and what's his
David
name
Arquette.
from Scream?
David Arquette, yeah.
Yeah, David Arquette. Yeah, he was in that one as well.
Justice
Um,
Smith was also in this.
Justice Smith, Lynn Shay from the Insidious movies was also in this one.
Yeah.
Um,
The
but
animation looks good. A lot of the graphics look really good.
yeah, the character models look good, the animation looks good, but there's something in all of these other games that this studio's done. There's something that's off about the editing, and the way that the acting actually comes out of the characters. There's always something a little more awkward or just a little more wooden about the
Mm,
performances. And I don't know if it's a budget thing, it's a sound mixing thing, if it's a direction thing in the sound studio, or if it's a few of those things combined. But they always just have a little bit of an uncanny valley thing. Whereas like Until Dawn to me still, even being 10 years old, it doesn't have that. It feels way more organic. It feels like everything comes together in a way that just doesn't have that off feeling to it that the rest of the things that the studio's done have. And I keep rooting for them. I keep hoping that they'll put something else out that is as good as Until Dawn, or at least kind of approaching that level. But to me, it kind of feels like they came out with their best one first, and since then they've spent the last decade trying to chase that high. They haven't really been able to recapture it.
mm, okay. So, what would be your rating for the 2015 Until Dawn?
Oh, I think honestly, I give it like a high peak. The only reason I don't go a little higher is that from a gameplay perspective, it can be a little simple at times. That opening hour or two can be a little slow paced on a replay. Once you've already kind of know what's going on, it could take a little time to get going. But I think especially on a first time experience, it all works really well. It's got a lot of replay value because of the different ways things can play out. It's got a lot of replay value because it's a really good game to play with your friends. It's a good game to stream with an audience, have people vote on choices to make. The acting, all the performances, I think are really solid all around. It's got a very clever story. It's got pulls the rug out from under you more than once. It has a really great creature feature gore to it, if that's your kind of thing. It's also got the slasher stuff, if that's your kind of thing. Um, and yeah, I think it's got just so much about it clicks together. It feels like a lightning in a bottle sort of achievement. Perfect storm of elements that just work. It would honestly probably go on, like, if I made a top 10 list of like horror video games, it would go on there, and it might even make the top five.
Mm, wow. Okay. So high praise from Sage. He gives Until Dawn 2015 a peak there.
I haven't played the remake, but my instinct is to skip it just based on the press.
Yeah. Well, remastered, not a remake, remastered.
Right. Well, it's weird because they keep referring to it as a remake at certain times, and then they call it a remaster at other times, and it's like, you make up your mind. You pick
Yeah.
one. Call it something. Just
So
pick
what
what
makes
you
a
want.
game like a remake? What makes a game a reboot? What makes a game a remaster?
In my opinion, a remaster is you take a game that already exists and you just go in, you improve the textures. Just you maybe you make the lighting a little bit better, but you're not redoing anything except for prettying it up a little bit. To me, that's a remaster.
Like
A
Last of Us.
remake, yeah, like where you're taking exactly what it
Mm.
is and you're just making it look better. A remake is something like Resident Evil 2 or Silent Hill 2, where you are taking a game, but and yeah, you might be using a lot of what's there to build, but you are making it from scratch. You're designing every asset from scratch. You're creating the character models from scratch. You are casting actors to play these roles from scratch, to record dialogue from scratch. Um, and then a reimagining is a
Or reboot.
tricky one. I'd say
Like Tomb Raider would be a reboot, like because it's
Tomb Raider's a reboot. Yeah, that's not trying to retell the same story from the old game. That's telling a whole new story. Like that's just doing something new with the franchise. Um, and then like Final Fantasy VII, I would call a reimagining because it's not just a remake. It's like a sequel with like time travel and like weird multiverse stuff that wasn't in the original. Where it's like, okay, this is not just the story from the original retold. We're actually doing like a full-on sequel here. So that's how I would classify those things personally. But I think those terms get thrown around a lot in the industry in general, especially from like game studios and game developers. And they sometimes it seems like they just say the term and it's not like they're not basing it on anything specifically. It's just whatever they've decided to throw on as a label, but without really thinking about what it means.
mm,
So
yeah. It seems to be the new thing. A lot of these remaster, remakes, reboots. There, yeah, it seems like the new
if they're
thing.
good, I'm happy to get them. Silent Hill 2 is the perfect example of why remakes do, I think, need to happen. game preservation, right? Making stuff accessible, things that are very old, at this point, getting significant upgrades because it's been so long since they came out that the technology has changed 4 console generations since they came out, something like that. And then Until Dawn seems to be like the exact opposite, and it's the exact negative kind of like a corporate greedy remaster where you're not providing anything new for me here. You are just trying to make a quick buck off this property. And the
Mm.
game did not sell this remaster did not sell very well. So I mean, I don't know if they learned a lesson from that or not, but let's cross our fingers and hope.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And we're gonna have another big remake coming out, Metal Gear Solid there. Would
Yeah,
you say
and
that's
that one's interesting.
yeah, would you say that's a remaster because they keep the same dialogue and the same story? So would you say it's a remaster?
That's an interesting one. It's because it feels kind of in between because they have remade all of the assets from scratch, right? They have like the environments and the character models. Those are made from scratch, but then they are keeping all the old voice acting and they are keeping like the geometry of the levels. But then they're also designing like a whole new control scheme and like actual control system to play the game. And that's also being designed from scratch. So that's a weird one. That's like kind of in the middle. It's like half one, half the other. I feel like we might need a new term for that one.
Okay. So that was Until Dawn. Heading out of here. Of course, I'm gonna raid somebody. Chill. He's on playing that Black Myth Wukong. So I'll go ahead and give him a raid there. Sage, one more
Yeah.
time, let people know where they can find it, what you got going on, what you got coming up next.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find me over at Rated M for Immaturity on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all under that exact same name. Right now, we got a stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now, we're doing Silent Hill 2 on that stream. And then Saturday nights, we're going to be starting a new game called Blasphemous, kind of a 2D Dark Souls type thing this next upcoming week. You can follow us over there. We're really close to 500 on Twitch, too. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. We're slowly making our way up there. And then if you go over on YouTube, we've got backlogs of all the VODs that we've ever done, all the streams we've done. So you can go back and then see us when we were at our like worst doing it. We've got like I think I counted recently. We've completed like 80 full games playthroughs or something like that now. Over 600 VODs on there. It's a lot of stuff. And then Twitter, you might see me make some sarcastic comments towards some of the people complaining about Lara Croft.
Yeah. All this good stuff here. People can check out YouTube, Twitch, all rated M for Immaturity there. Awesome stuff there. Different, all variety, different games there you got on there. All right. And with us, you can follow us on all the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, there is Blue Sky, all day Afternoon Tune. If you want to send us an email, you can do so at theafternoontune@gmail.com. Also, where you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can see us on any of those platforms. Make sure you leave a good 5-star review that helps boost up the podcast. It does a lot for us there. Twitch.tv/Afternoon Tune. Usually streaming every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes Wednesday there, usually 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to be back streaming this Friday. I'm going to be reviewing Smile 2. I'm going to be reviewing The Apprentice, and I'm going to be reviewing It's What's Inside there. So I'm going to be doing that with Dusk if you can join me this Friday there. Also have to do Nightmare on Elm Street, have to do a review for that. That's upcoming there. Also have to do a review for Batman Mask of the Phantasm since that won the poll. I have to do a review for that. Also, there's a new poll up right now where people can vote on where I got what other horror movies we should do a retro review for. Still in October there. Gremlins is winning right now, so there's that. Gremlins, Shaun of the Dead is up there as well. Also, Audition and I Saw the Devil. So right now it's between Gremlins and Shaun of the Dead is where it's between right now. Also got to do a review for the horror themed episode of Television Atlanta. Teddy Perkins, do a review for that. I got to do that. So yeah, that's what we got kind of going there. Hopefully Sage can join me next week there. He's probably going to give his review of Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, probably do his review of that. He's playing that right now, and you're liking it. You're loving it right now, right?
Yeah, it's the Ratatouille meme of the critic having the flashback to when he was a kid. I'm totally feeling that. Checking this out, I was a huge fan of the Budokai Tenkaichi games on like the PS2 and the Wii. I was that kid with the Wiimotes like physically doing the Kamehameha in my living room at the TV because you had to with those controllers. And this Sparking Zero is it is basically the Budokai Tenkaichi games back then were called Sparking in Japan. So Budokai Tenkaichi was like a Western only name for that series. So this is basically the fourth entry in that series. The last one came out in 2007 on the PlayStation 2 and the Wii. So it's been a long time. And yeah, it's giving me that old feeling again. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think objectively, so far, I think I might like it more than any of those old ones.
You ever have fun like this guy? This guy's really into it. He looks like he loves playing the game there.
I don't know if
Calling
I've
him,
ever made that face.
yeah, he's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, making those, it's always fun when people try to like, damn, it's like, damn, he's sweating. Jesus. It's like, damn, he really into
It's like they
this.
could feel it. It's like they got the haptic feedback, but it's like they could feel all the punches.
Yeah. Actually, let me see what the audio is.
この日を待っていた。行くぞ。はい、来た。よっしゃ。うわ。よっしゃ。スパイキン勝った。誰に。
Excited. He loves some Dragon Ball Z, man. Damn. It's always good, man. Enjoying playing some Dragon Ball Z there. So yeah. That reminds me, also Dragon Ball Daima. That's also
Yeah.
that's gonna be on Netflix this upcoming week here. So we're probably gonna give a review for that if I can. Maybe Mike is gonna join me there.
I don't think it's all at once though. It's only going to be
Yeah.
one episode.
Yeah, one episode. So give an initial impression of it there. But he said, I think, yeah, Mike said he already saw it because it's on Crunchyroll.
Oh.
So the episode also premiered
Oh,
on
yeah.
Crunchyroll first.
Yeah, it's
So-
the subtitled version's already on there, and then the dub version I think is coming out on the 18th with the
Yeah.
Netflix release.
So is that what they did with what's it?
Oh, Don to Don.
Don the Don? Yeah, is that what they kind of did there?
To me, it looked like they put the English dub out, and it was on Netflix the exact same day it was on Crunchyroll.
Okay. All right. So yeah. And how many episodes is that going to be this season?
Well, I for sure know that they're doing 12 as like one core, and then I thought I read that they were going to be doing a 24 episode season, so probably like a big break, and then maybe like the second half next year. But with anime production schedules, they often don't announce how long a season is going to be until it's already airing or most of it has already aired. So sometimes the finale can come in as a bit of a blindside. So it might only be 12, but I guess we'll see as it goes along. For sure, at least a 12 episode season though.
Okay. And then there's that Uzumaki. This will be its third episode upcoming, right?
Third episode was yesterday.
Oh, so
And
this will be
fourth
the
episode. Yeah, that'll be the last one this upcoming week.
okay. So maybe do a
Uh,
review for that then Wednesday. Do
yeah,
a full
yeah.
review of that. Also give probably mid-season reviews or for Penguin and Agatha. Do that. So I got to review those. Give mid-season reviews.
Penguin show, man.
Yeah, people really loving this. People really, it's that good, huh? You've been keeping up. It's that good.
I think it's. I mean, I was like an 8 out of 10 on the Matt Reeves Batman movie. I thought it was very good. I didn't quite love it as much as a lot of other people did, though. I had a few issues with it. I think this Penguin series is like, if that was an 8 out of 10, this, I think, at least so far, has the potential to be a 10 out of 10.
Okay. Wow. Okay. People seem to be really loving it. I thought the first episode was solid, so I'm interested to see what the other ones. I haven't watched all the other episodes yet. So
I haven't watched episode 4 yet, but episode 3 left off in such a way that I genuinely don't think I've been so excited to watch like the next episode of like a live action crime drama since Breaking Bad was on.
wow. Okay. High praise there. Somebody said something stupid about the kid. Somebody said they think he's cyborg. Somebody think he's because his name is Victor. They think he's it's like it'd be really cool if he was cyborg. Yeah. Like I think
That
I
wouldn't
don't-
make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, I don't
at
think
all.
he's cyborg.
He's his own original character. I've also seen people going like, "Ooh, maybe he's Victor Zsasz," and I'm like, "Does he seem like Victor Zsasz?" Like,
The
come
kid?
on.
The kid is
Yeah,
Victor. What the
again,
hell?
it's just because of the name Victor. They're just like, oh, it's got to be an Easter egg somehow. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's one of the things I like about the show. It doesn't feel like it has to shoehorn Easter eggs in everywhere. Yeah, there's a few elements. It's the Penguin, it's Gotham City, it's the
Mm,
Carmine, or it's the Falcone crime family.
yeah.
But like, it doesn't feel like it's constantly making references to things, and it doesn't feel like it needs to.
Mm. Yeah. I heard they because I was watching Double Toasted. Corey had advanced screeners, and then he said that yeah, they don't even mention Batman in it. So they mention the Riddler, but they don't mention Batman.
I think Batman's mentioned once in like the intro sequence at the very beginning of the first episode. But after that, they never talk about him again.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna send you all over to chill there. Thanks you, Cal, for the lurk, man. Thank you, Bloodline JP. Thank you, Ghost. With the most there, very much appreciated. So that's our upcoming streams there that we got going on. A lot of stuff as always to watch, to review there. The chill spot playing that Black Myth Wukong. Finally got past the Tigers. That finally happened. So
Nice.
I'm gonna send you all over to him. Thank you to Sage for stopping by. Thank you for Conan for stopping by there, helping with these reviews. All right, people, stay tuned. Boom.